and they have more off-the-record discussion. And then Wide says, back on the record. Today we are going to be getting into 98 pages of testimony from Dr. Sidney Gottlieb, aka the Poisoner-in-Chief responsible for MKULTRA, Project Artichoke, Project Bluebird, and probably a gajillion more because he worked for the CIA for a very long time. Come and get it, baby! That's kind of fun. Ooh, which face is my face? Okay. Well, enough joking, trying to be goofy, silly, and downplay the seriousness of this shit. This is very serious and very dark. I also have my brother's bearded dragon under my feet, so I gotta make sure I don't squish and smoosh here. I got pickle juice and olive juice. Because I'm fasting right now. Because I wanted my vessel to not be gunked up by all this. And then just some water. Alright, friends. I think it's time. Today we are going to be getting into 98 pages of testimony from Dr. Sidney Gottlieb, aka the Poisoner-in-Chief responsible for MKULTRA, Project Artichoke, Project Bluebird, and probably a gajillion more because he worked for the CIA for a very long time. So we're going to get into it and just start reading. This is 98 pages of testimony. So I'm just going to start going. I don't want to get distracted by the chat, but if I happen to catch your comment and respond to it, cool, but I most likely will probably just be leaving this for everyone to see kind of once everything's done. Since I had some weird sexual chatbots that threw off my energy last time, I really don't want to get back into that this time because this is so heavy and so dense. So like I said, this is 98 pages. It says it was approved for release 2/1 of 2022, so February 1st of 2022. Then it says, it's weird because it almost looks like the top of the first page, it says original and then something blacked out that almost says like OPS something. And then it says volume 1 of a number that's scratched out and has 1 written next to it, but it almost looks like a 3 or something like that. So I don't know if that's a typo or if there's more than one of these and they just haven't released all of them, or if I haven't found all of them yet. It also says national security information, unauthorized disclosure, something something to criminal something. Can't make it out because a lot of this was like stamped on in ink and then photocopied, so it's really poor quality. And then at the top it also says R1607. That feels important, just like those tab A, tab B, tab C, all of that weirdness that we found in the last one where we were reading the Project Artichoke documents. All of the stuff that's handwritten on these documents seems to be important. So this says, the United States Senate Report of Proceedings, hearing held before Senate Select Committee to study governmental operations with respect to intelligence agencies. So I don't think even the government knows what the government's doing. I don't think these lettered agencies know what the lettered agencies are doing, because that was something that was in those 5 Project Artichoke documents that we read last time. It specifically mentioned that the author of those documents had access to people who worked for all these lettered agencies and people who were just had like backdoor access to stuff, who had lots of funding and wanted to give it to these people to do all of these sketchy backdoor things and go and do war crimes to their heart's content, where they don't have to let it out in like a FOIA log request and stuff like this, where it's not officially through the CIA, but they're taking information from the CIA and people from the CIA and stuff like that. Let me close my window really quick because someone's mowing their lawn. Hopefully that helps cut out the noise a little bit. Also, how do you like the new camera angle? I have you guys set up a little bit differently than last time, where you're kind of above me. You're up on my cube organizer up here instead of just next to my laptop. So let me know if you guys like this more. I've been playing around with lighting and camera angles and everything. It's always going to look a little crazy because there's a bunch of reflections in my little blue light blocking glasses, but I think you guys still get the gist. I'm also trying really hard not to accidentally run over my brother's bearded dragon I brought in here with me. Let's see, but it's got numbers on the side that looks like 7500041,874, I think, but I'm not sure if that means anything either. Wednesday, October 15th, 1975 in Washington, D.C. And then there's a bunch more that's really faint and hard to read. Can't really make it out. Ward and Paul, 1st Street Southeast, I think. Washington, D.C. And then more stuff I can't make out. I hope that's not going to be a problem throughout this document where we can't read a lot of it because it's so poorly photocopied. Because, like, even this, where it's got a bunch of numbered lines on the next page, I can barely make out past, like, number 9, and it goes all the way down to the bottom. But then at the top of the second page, it says top secret, and it's got a slash through it, I guess, because they declassified it. And it says Shelburne Lynch. Don't know what that means. A bunch more numbers and letters. Then it says contents testimony of Sidney Gottlieb accompanied by Terry F. Lenzner, counsel. Staff interview Wednesday, October 15th, 1975. United States Senate Select Committee to study governmental operations with respect to intelligence activities, Washington, D.C. The staff met pursuant to notice at 2:25 p.m. in room S406, it looks like it says, the Capitol. Present. I cannot make out most of these words. Oh my gosh. Does it say Burton Wides? Ted Palster? If y'all know these names, please drop it in the comments because I have no idea what these are trying to say. And Elliot Maxwell maybe? Professional staff members. Testimony of Sidney Gottlieb resumed, accompanied by Terry F. Lenzner, counsel. So that makes me wonder if this is a second part of something, because I found this completely by accident, because it's just labeled the United States Senate and then a bunch of numbers. But I somehow was intuitively drawn to it last time I was on live with you guys reading all of those Project Artichoke documents. So this makes me think that this isn't one of one, that was right, that there's more to the series. But I don't know, then it doesn't make sense why it said one of whatever. Okay, let's see. Oh, it was Mr. Wides, yeah. Mr. Wides, Mr. Gottlieb, would you state your full name and the address at which you can be reached by the committee? Dr. Gottlieb, my name is Sidney Gottlieb. I can be reached through my counsel, Mr. Lenzner. Mr. Wides, is it correct that you are continuing to testify under the oath previously administered to you on behalf of the committee? Yeah, so this is a second part at least. And then Gottlieb says, yes, I am. Mr. Wides says, Mr. Gottlieb, let me first ask you about several matters relating to the various activities undertaken by the Technical Services Division, or kinds of activities, oh, it's so crappily photocopied on here. Oh my God. Of something they were involved during the period when you were I'm gonna guess as a director? Could you give us again for the record the period when you were the head of the Technical Services Division approximately? And then Gottlieb says, I was chief of the Technical Services Division between 1966 and 1973. Mr. Wides, the director of CIA, Director Colby, following the disclosure of a variety of questionable activities, something I can't make out, a series of directives to each of the components of CIA, approving guidelines to be applied, at least in the future, regard to a range of activities. I wanted to ask you about the meaning of them. And then Dr. Lenzner says, what was the something of these guidelines? Oh my gosh, some of this is so, it looks like it gets better, but geez Louise, some of these words are so crappily copied over from the photocopier. And then Gottlieb says, yes, that is what I wanted to know. Mr. Wides says, this was in the summer of 1973. Gottlieb says, I was no longer working for them then. And Lenzner says, you had left the agency. And Mr. Wides says, I understand that. One of the guidelines indicates that in the future, there should be no support by the Technical Services Division to domestic intelligence operations of the Department of Defense. I am wondering if you can recall any activities to which this might refer. That is, if you have any recollection of any kind of support in any area given by TDS, but I think it's supposed to say TSD, to the Department of Defense where you knew it related to domestic activities they were going to be involved in, or domestic intelligence operations. So interesting. They're trying to put up some sort of pit stop and guideline to make them not do as many war crimes, although to me that's really just reading, we don't want it to be on record what you guys are doing anymore. Because like I said in Project Artichoke, we read all about how they got plenty of people and plenty of funding and plenty of backdoor access to do literally whatever they want. And then it says off the record discussion. So I'm guessing Lenzner and I'm just going to start calling him SG. We're speaking. And then Mr. Wide says, on the record. For the record, let me indicate that apart from the something line and the impossible implication of a narrative pregnant in that he is not merely making certain in the future that it does not happen, but given the specificity of the prohibition, the possible implication that there was such assistance provided in the past, I am trying to find out if you can recall it. I also would put on the record that there is nothing either in his statement or in regard to any other information we have that any intelligence activities, any support provided by TSD was improper or in regard to an improper operation. I am just trying to find out if you can recall. And then Lenzner says, I take it the statement doesn't indicate when this occurred if it did occur. And Wide says, no, sir, it is a prospective guideline. And then SG says, I can answer that in the following way. I am not aware of any assistance given by TSD, the domestic activities of the Department of Defense Intelligence, nor am I aware of what Mr. Colby is referring to. Mr. Wide says, there are two other directives where I want to ask you questions essentially in a similar vein. One states, and I make the representation to you, we don't have the document here today, in regard to the now called Resources Division in most of the 60s, called the Domestic Operations Division, the concluding sentence of the directive is that the Foreign Resources Division shall not undertake any surreptitious entry in the U.S. My question is, again, it being understood that we do not have specific evidence that they had in the past undertaken surreptitious entry, but at least given the negative pregnant that can be read into that, the implication that there has been in the past, do you know of any assistance provided by the Technical Services Division to the Foreign Resources Division in regard to their attempts or actually carrying out any surreptitious entries in the U.S.? So yeah, like I said, they've all been interconnected and shady as shit for over 100 years at this point, because when I read into the scalar interference docs that I still need to redo and upload for you guys, it mentioned stuff happening as early as the 1920s and 1930s. So it's been at least 100 years of shady, shitty, hidden stuff, and they've had that 100 years to learn how to get around things so that they don't have to tell us all the sketchy things they're doing, because they learned we can FOIA log request stuff and ask for them to declassify documents and stuff like that. They don't like giving us paper trails. They even mentioned in the Project Artichoke documents that we read last time that that they had, what was it, destroyed or burned, I think it was like 18 boxes of documents or something like that, at least, for that. So a lot of this we literally don't have paper trails of anymore, because they just decided, oh, the plebeians that we experimented on like lab rats don't deserve to get to know what we did on them. And I think that's insane. And then SG says, I am not aware of any such activities. Bullshit. I call bullshit on all that. Wide says, you mean you are not aware of any such assistance by the TSD? And SG says, right. Wide says, do you have any knowledge at all of any surreptitious entries by the Foreign Resources Division and the Domestic Operations Division in the U.S.? And SG says, I do not. And Wide says, if the Technical Services Division had rendered such assistance during your tenure as chief of the Technical Services Division, is it likely that you would have known about it? And SG says, I would have to say yes. Ooh, we got some redacted stuff already. And then Mr. Wide says, something very blacked out. The head of the so-called Picks and Locks branch during most of your tenure as chief. I don't like the Picks and Locks branch. That's sketchy as shit. And then on the side here next to these redactions, because there's another redaction I'm about to get to, it says 1.3 A4C, and then, oh yeah, it's the same 1.3 A4C on both of them, actually. So again, I wonder if that's something we can FOIA log request to learn that. The same we can FOIA log request, I think, those tab A, B, C, and everything from the Project Artichoke documents we read last time. And then SG says, I am a little hazy here on the specifics of redacted career over this period that I was chief of TSD. All I can say is that he certainly was involved in activities for part of that period. And then Mr. Wide says, and for part of it, he was chief of the branch. And SG says, I couldn't even remember that specifically. I doubt that. Wide says, what is the formal title of the branch within TSD that was involved in the technology or means of surreptitious entry? And then SG says, restate the question. And Mr. Wide says, I didn't mean the question to have any legal overtones with regard to means. And then SG says, you will see in a minute why it is important. I hate all of these men. 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 Just talk about what you mean. Just talk about the war crimes and atrocities you did against the planet and her people. Stop hiding behind all the legalese bullshit. You are weak and pathetic. You are a worm. Mr. Wide says physical entry to the facilities, as distinct from photographic or secret writing, etc., was there a particular branch that dealt with that area? SG says there were really two branches that dealt with the area because it was usually the subject of some training of other individuals. And as I remember it, and I could be wrong here, but my best memory is that Redacted was more connected with the training than with the operations. And the second thing I wanted to say about it is there was no separate group for surreptitious entry. It was usually part of the audio operations branch. And then Wide says, was there a section within the branch that dealt with it? And SG says, I really don't remember that. The best I can tell you is that it was in that activity. And then Wide says, and I take it that there was a training branch that Redacted was connected with. And it's again got that same little letter combination of the 1.3A4C. And then SG says, where he did some of his locks and picks work was in that training branch is what my remembrance is. Wide says, I will come back to that. But let me go on to one other of the directives by Director Colby. And that was the directive which implicated essentially that no alias or false documentation should be used for any purpose other than the establishment of a false identity, and specifically that it should not be used to cast aspersions or in any aggressive way against the person whose identity was invoked. Oh, so yeah, don't use false documentation unless you're just lying to become a person that you're not actually, so that you can go on to do war crimes that can't be tracked back to you because you were assuming someone else's poor chud's identity and doing your stupid war crimes. So people that see you doing war crimes don't realize it's you and they think it's some poor innocent dude. I'm telling you, I hate all of these pathetic, wormy men. I hate them all. My question is whether you know of any use by CIA or by any other agency of materials furnished by CIA in the way of false identification or alias identification to discredit the person who was the subject of the documentation as distinct from simply to have a false identity. I don't understand that sentence. Is the question clear? And then SG says, yes, the question is very clear, and my answer is no. And then Wide says, and that would include not simply identification cards in the narrow sense, but false documentation. And let me add an important qualification to that. I am not talking about overseas operations with regard to foreigners as part of a covert act, propaganda campaign, but I am talking about specifically American citizens. Wait, so are they talking about having them assume false identities of people overseas and on American soil? Or are they talking about lying to people in American soil and overseas? Or kind of both? Ooh, that's pickle juice and olive oil. Woohoo! Or, no, pickle juice and olive juice. That's the words. Wow, salty. And then Lenzner says, are you including the provision of alias documentation to Howard Hunt and Gordon Liddy? So this is another one where they start frickin' doxing people's names. Like, some people get to be redacted and some people get just straight up doxed, just like the Project Artichoke documents that we read last time, where it's a lot of it was Mr. Redacted, Mr. Whited out. But then it would say just some people's names, blank, point blank, period. Mr. Wide says no, and that was ultimately in connection, perhaps, with the discrediting operation. But I am talking about a situation where the use of the documentation itself was to discredit the person who was the subject of the documentation. And then Lenzner says, and you are asking specifically about American citizens in the US? And Mr. Wide says yes. And SG says the answer would be no. So his clarification of that makes me believe the answer is yes to outside of that. And then Wide says, returning to the question of training, are you aware generally, or do you recall generally, activity by TSD in training police and other law enforcement bodies state and local law enforcement bodies in a variety of technical activities. Yeah, so the CIA and the cops and all that, they're all class traitors. They're all interlinked. All the local law enforcement bodies, all the police, all of the state and federal, and it's every country, every city, every state. All of these men are a massive network of corruption and McFuckery that work together to cover up their crimes, like the Epstein ring, but worse and weirder and deeper and crazier, experimenting on all of humanity. It's all connected, all of it, every single part of it. The Epstein files, the Panama Papers, all of the CIA weird things, all of the military psyops, all of the FOIA logs, every single part of this is connected, and they know it. These fucking piggies, these class traitor cops, are trained by the CIA. They're working in cahoots with all these guys experimenting on the planet and her people, and it's all bullshit. And then SG says, just wait just a minute, and then he confers with his counsel and says, I was aware of this activity that you are talking about. So he had to get permission from his lawyer, counsel, or senate, whatever the fuck he is with. I don't remember what it said up there. And then it says, WIDES, what kind of programs did this involve? Specifically, did this involve persons from TSD, to your knowledge, going to a local area and giving instructions, demonstrations, or advice? Or did this only involve law enforcement personnel coming to Washington to a regional TSD office for some sort of, as part of a seminar or class? Or what kind of arrangements were used? And then SG says, that is a complex question for me to answer. My general answer to it would be that it was, to my remembrance, almost entirely the latter. But I want to make the exception. I can remember at least one incident that had to do with these letter bombs, where because of the urgency and because of a whole lot of other things, technicians in TSD who were knowledgeable in that area went up to help the New York Police Department. What do they mean by letter bombs? Is he talking about like lettered agencies or like actual bomb threats? I guess you wouldn't call Canada domestic, but they did go up to Montreal to help the local police body analyze the problem and defuse the bomb. Oh, so it was literal bombs. That was training, I guess you would call it, but they did go. That was out of the pattern. And then Lenzner says, to make sure the record is accurate, I think you asked whether the police would come to Washington or the CIA, or would the TSD go to the police? And I think you said it was usually the latter, and I think you meant the former. And then SG says, I am sorry, I meant the police would come to us. And then Wide says, that was the normal pattern, and I didn't mean initiated by TSD as a component. And then SG says, he was talking about later, I guess it means latter, and former, and I misunderstood the order in the sequence. Wide says, who were the heads of training, of the training branch during the period that you were chief of TSD? SG says, I am trying to remember. I am just hitting a blank on names here. Could you stimulate my memory? I am not trying to withhold this, but if you mention a few names, I might recall them. And then Wide says off the record, and then they have off-record discussion. I don't trust that. I don't like that at all. With everything I've read about how these men are all in cahoots and all bad, the fact that he had to say, oh, I'm hitting a blank. I don't remember all of the war crimes I've done and all of the boys who were responsible for these war crimes. We're just dumb little babies, and I can't remember. If you mention some names, I might remember them, though. And then they go off the record, and suddenly he remembers. It's really giving. These are the names I'm allowed to say out loud, and we have to talk about it before we put it on the record, or else we're exposing things for these stupid, shitty agencies and these stupid, shady, shitty, wormy men. Ha ha ha. And then they go back on the record, and Mr. Wide says, back on the record, with regard to the training, what kinds of records, to your knowledge, were kept by TSD in the normal course of training given to police? So they just totally skip over fucking naming the people. Cool. So they talk about it off the record, and then they switch topics once they jump back on the record. Cool. Noted and hated. Then SG says, let's see. My impression was that they were fairly carefully documented. I don't mean to say the police. I don't know that specifically, but if the training group did that with the training... What? If the training group did with that training what they did with the other, they would have records of it. Okay. And then Wide says, would it be your understanding that they would have records of the names of persons trained, or at least of the locals, that is, the Los Angeles Police Department? LAPD? If you're watching this, LAPD? If you're watching this, LAPD? All cops, all class traitors, all little piggy wiggies behind the blue curtain of pathetic patriarchy and legalese. And then SG says, that would be my impression. Wide says, you don't know, that is just speculation based on record for CIA training. And SG says, and for others training, yes, I would be surprised if they don't have those records. And then Wide says, would there also be records specifically as to what kinds of training was given by types such as surreptitious entry or picks and locks? And then SG says, I would think so. Wide says, were you aware through your general conversations with other senior personnel in the agency of any efforts by CIA to go back to local or state law enforcement agencies where personnel had been trained by TSD as to their receiving training in an effort to encourage or request that they use those techniques in operations that the CIA would be interested in? SG says, I am not aware of any such. Number one, I wouldn't be, but I am not. And then Wide says, are you aware? And SG cuts him off and says, if I understand your question, are you asking me whether I know of any incidents where some officers trained in some technology by TSD were later contacted and asked to do some technical operations domestically for the CIA? And then Wide says, for secondhand CIA operations? So it's getting back into what I was saying earlier, where it's not the CIA directly doing it. They're having these private contractors and these outside entities all come in and worm their ways into wherever they want, American soil or otherwise, and do whatever they want. Under the CIA, but not under the CIA on record. I hate all of these men. And then Gottlieb says, my answer is I have no such knowledge. I was not aware that the procedure was followed, nor do I have any specific knowledge that any such happened. And then, oh, nope, don't like this. And then Wide says off the record, and they have a bunch of off-record discussion. This is all so sketchy and shouldn't be allowed. They shouldn't be allowed to just take a break and talk about mentioning men that were involved with this, and then the all of the sketchy things that are going on domestically for the CIA. And then Wide says, back on the record, what about any recollections you might have of operations in the U.S. jointly participated in by CIA and local police in the areas of I think it's supposed to say audio operations, or technical surveillance? Just without being specific first, do you recall having any awareness of that as distinct from operations, for example, involving embassies where there might have been cooperation with the FBI or other federal agencies? So Big Brother's been doing some sketchy things the whole time. Wherever the fuck Big Brother wants is what I'm getting. Audio, technical, whatever. You name it, they've been doing psyops, war crimes, experiments, listening on you, watching you, hacking your devices, falsely identifying as people they aren't and stealing identities. Like, they know no bounds with their war crimes and all of this shit. This is actually crazy. And then witness confers with the counsel, and SG says, my recollection there that is relevant to your question is that I have a remembrance of equipment being asked for, the loan of equipment. I wonder what equipment got loaned out to these fuckers. But I don't remember, and I don't know the specifics of it. I just remember that request coming up once or twice. But I don't remember any situations where personnel was used. Ooh. Mr. Wide says, do you recall whether those were instances involving the Washington Metropolitan Police Department? So yet another police department implicit, complicit, complacent in all of this shit as class traitors against the planet and her people. And then SG says, my recollection is a lot of local police departments, Washington or Fairfax. Wide says, metropolitan area? SG says, yes. Wide says, you don't recall any from other locations? And SG says, no, I do not. And then, oh my God. And then Wide says off the record, and they have more off the record discussion. These motherfuckers do not want to tell anything. They are really hiding. This is like, we're 30 minutes into this, I guess, but like, we're on page 14 of 98, and they've gone off the record almost 5 times already to have discussions, and then go back on the record and back to talking about all of this stuff. But they're all terrible. I hate this. They should not be allowed to do this. And then Wide says, we were speaking about the TSD responsibility overseas regarding audio operations. First, by audio was that used as a term of art to include both telephone tapping and electronic surveillance in the layman's understanding of both. Yeah, so they were tapping telephones, electronic surveillance, which I'm not sure how advanced that was back then, but that's really kind of like, it's really giving, they've been watching and listening in a whole lot of different ways we're not even aware of right now, and they've been doing it for almost 100 years or more. And then SG says, yes. And Wide says, is it correct that at least from the early 60s on, there was a general jurisdiction agreement in a rough sense that overseas audio operations would be conducted by TSD and that the primary responsibility domestically would be in the Office of Security? Yeah, so since at least the 60s, they've been doing audio operations domestically and overseas, and I hate all of them for it. Like, this is some shady, sketchy, stupid stuff. And then SG says, that is my remembrance. And Wide says, in regard to foreign audio operations. And then Lenzner chimes in and says, when you ask that question, when you say domestically, do you mean who would control it in terms of the agency in the US, not who controlled domestic audio surveillance? And Wide says, I meant which component would have the primary responsibility for the technical aspects of it, not any policy decisions. Is that responsive? And then Lenzner says, or audio surveillance overseas? And Wide says it would be the Technical Services Division. And in the US, that responsibility would be in the Office of Security. With regard to overseas operations, did you ever have occasion to know whether American was either a target or was overheard in an audio operation? I'm guessing he means America or an American. And then SG says, I am hesitating because it is a very general question. I'm hesitating because it's a general question. Shut up. Shut up. Shut the hell up. Wide says, let me go back. Generally, what kind of information would you have as head of the Technical Services Division as to the target, by which I mean not simply the nature of a building or the facility, but the category of persons who wished to be overheard? And then SG said, I would have to put it this way that I can't make out that word, but I think it says every attempt was made to keep out of TSD as much specifics in that area as they could. Now, in any practical setup, that is never possible. I am sure the audio operations branch was aware of the nature of some of the targets. Being about 3 steps beyond that, I was to that extent less aware. So he might have occasionally been aware of the category, if not the identity of the individuals who have been overheard, but less frequency than the branch chief. I think so. And then Wide says, and even then, that was restricted to the operational. And then SG cut him off and said, restricted to the operational group that did it. And Wide says, would there be any records to your knowledge, or would you think there would be any records based on your experience in the audio branch regarding the nature of the target? And SG says, every effort would have been made to minimize that is the best way I could answer that. And Wide says, the next question, based on what we just covered, is whether you can recall ever being aware personally either that an American was the target of an overseas audio operation, or learning without seeing the actual tapes that an American or Americans can be overheard in the course of an audio operation. And then it says witness confers with counsel. SG says, I think my best answer to that question. And then Wides cuts him off and says, excuse me, if you want to have any off the record colloquy with me on that, you may do so. No, stop going off the record, fuckers. And then SG, of course, says, I will do it off the record if it is helpful. Oh, okay. And then Wide says, no. Okay, so they didn't go off the record for a, like, 20th time at this point. And SG says, I think my best answer to that would be that I had an awareness generically that that in connection with the MK Chaos program, that there were audio operations that were probably targeted against Americans abroad, since I had general awareness of what their mission was. But I was never aware specifically that on this day in that country, this American. Okay, we're gonna, MK Chaos is another one. Jeez Louise. They really just, they never stop with the stupid names, huh? Jesus Christ. They're so bad at naming these psyops and operations, and they're all so stupid. All of these men are so pathetic and wormy, and all of this is just so dumb. And then Wide says, was there ever any discussion that either of you participated in or that you were aware of regarding any constraints as a policy matter on conducting audio operations abroad against Americans. Here it is. And then SG says, can we go off the record for a minute? And then they go off the record again for the 20th fucking time and talk about their war crimes. And they don't want to get into specifics on record. And then Wide says, back on the record. And then SG says, as chief of the TSD, I would normally not be involved in discussions of that kind at all in that context. I don't buy that because y'all just went off the record to talk about it. And we don't know how long you were talking about it off the record. Because it's not on the record for us to know. And then Wide says, but I take it you were aware of the chaos program generally, the MK chaos. And then Gottlieb says, sure. And Wide says, did that come up in part in regard to your cooperation in the program or assistance to it, or merely as a component helped within DDP and being on the distribution list of general? And then Lenzner cuts him off and says, are you asking how did he become aware of it? And Wide says, yes, sir. And SG says, I don't remember how I became aware of it. It started out as a very sensitive project. There were very few written things I remember seeing about it. Like I told y'all, they don't write a lot of this shit down. They just carry out their war crimes. There were, I think I became aware of it when they asked for our cooperation in the audio area. I must have gotten an oral briefing, but I really don't remember the context of it. And then Wide says, I believe we asked you on the record with regard to TSD participation in domestic audio operations. But let me just go back. I am trying to refresh your recollection and ask you whether you recall, to complete the record, furnishing any assistance in either area, in the area either of audio coverage or surreptitious entry to the chaos programs. Oh, so there was more than one with MK Chaos is what I'm getting from that. And then SG says in the US, and Wide says for an operation in the US. And SG says, I don't have any personal remembrance of either of those. I don't buy that, buddy. I don't buy that at all. And then Wide says, do you recall whether you happen to learn of any operations abroad, audio or surreptitious entry, in which TSD participated, or any consideration of operations abroad that you learned of against either Ramsey Clark? Let's take them one at a time. So that's another person they doxed. They really don't mind doxing people unless it's them, the bad guys, doing all the bad shit. And then we can't know their names. Just like the Epstein files. We gotta redact their names. But the victims, fuck the victims. We don't care about the victims. But the guys, the perpetrators, the ones doing the war crimes, oh, think of their futures. Think of the impact that could have on their futures. And then SG says, can we go off the record for a minute? And Wide says, yeah, sure, why the fuck not? We've already done it 20 times in the first 20 pages. And they have some off-the-record discussion, and Wide says, back on the record again, like a little Weasley, wormy, pathetic bitch I am. And SG says, my answer's no. I had to talk to you off the record, but no. 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 You're just goofy silly. You're dumb. No. And then Lenzner says, may I ask, does the committee have any evidence of that? And Wide says, no, only monitoring of the broadcasts that he made abroad in an effort to pin down witnesses for prosecution purposes and not in regard to other people, but that has broadcasts that were monitored. So Lenzner's also giving piece of shit, douchebag, scumbag, trash ball. Who knows exactly what the fuck Gottlieb has gotten himself into, and he's a slime lord, slumball, whatever the fuck the term is, also trying to protect this guy from his fucking war crimes. And then Lenzner says, pin down witnesses? Oh my god, and then fucking Wide says, off the record, and they go off the record again. Is someone keep tabs on this in the comments if you want to just see just tally up someone in the comments and I'll pin it, how many times they've gone off the record in this entire 98-page thing by the time we finish this shit, because we're only 19 pages in. We're only 19 pages in, and I'm so tired. This is so stupid. This is so dumb. And then they go back on the record, and Mr. Wide says, what about either Jane's Fonda? Jane Fonda, hello? And then SG says, no. And Wide says, George McGovern? SG says, no. Wide says, let me come back to activities in America. Off the record. And then they go off the record again. You are the poisoner-in-chief, Sidney Gottlieb, that did war crimes poisoning the American people, and honestly, people everywhere, because I know all these countries are involved in this shit. All of them are friends behind closed doors, just like Republicans and Democrats aren't actually fighting against each other. They're two wings of the same fucked up bird, two sides of the same shitty coin. And that's why nothing ever actually happens to actually benefit the 99% of us. And it's only things that make us more subservient to the 1% at the top. You should not be allowed to keep going off the record like this. You should get like a maximum of 3 or something. Like you're on fucking, like, not Whose Line Is It Anyways? Like Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, where it's like you get to phone a friend and have an off the record discussion, but like, you shouldn't even be able to have an off the record discussion. You're in court. You're giving a testimony hearing in front of Senate. You should not be able to go off the record about the things you did in MKULTRA and Project Artichoke and Project Bluebird and God knows what the fuck else. Ugh, and apparently to Jane Fonda. Yeah. And then Wide says, back on the record. And then SG says, there were allegations made by representatives of the Chilean government that in the spring of 1972, there was a forced physical break-in at the Chilean embassy here in Washington, that there was also a physical break-in, forcible entry at several offices or apartments of representatives of the Chilean government in New York in connection with their United Nations mission there. This was in the late spring of 1972. Are you aware of any assistance by the TSD in particular, or the CIA in general, or any other connection with those break-ins? Yeah, it was us doing all of this. All part of this is the American lettered agencies and shit like that. And then SG says, I am not aware of any. And Lenzner says, Bert, let me ask you this. A couple of questions ago you asked, I want to be sure I got the question right, whether TSD had furnished any assistance in, I think, surveillance or surreptitious entry in the US as part of the Operation Chaos. Was that the question? And Wide says yes. And Lenzner says that is not directly related to the question of the breaking in the Chilean embassy. Do you have any evidence that CIA assisted in any way in domestic operations regarding Operation Chaos? And then Wide says, not in regard to audio or surreptitious entry, and I just have to go back and check through my files a little more completely before giving you a quick answer as to any other kind of technical assistance. For example, TSD was involved in the mail program. Does he mean like USPS? The fuck you mean TSD was involved in the mail program? It's like MAIL, not men. And Chaos was getting some of the tape from that, but in regard to break-ins or audio operations, no. Let me ask you this series of questions. The Office of Security had primary responsibility, you indicated, in regard to domestic audio operations. But I take it there were some domestic operations that is, operations in the US geographically, particularly in regard to foreign intelligence collection. And then there's more off-the-record discussion! It's been like 4 times in the past 2 pages. And then Wide says, back on the record, which TSD personnel participated in either in terms of providing equipment or assistance, or in some cases actually participating in the running of the operation. Is that correct? And then it says, witness confers with counsel. SG says, I had a general awareness of that. And then Wide says, off the record, and they have more off the record discussion. And then Wide says, back on the record. And then SG says, I take it your last answer indicated that there were some audio operations and or surreptitious entry operations in the US in which the Technical Services Division was involved, although it did not have primary responsibility here. And in response to an earlier question, first, is that correct? And SG says yes. Wide says, and in response to an earlier question, you indicated that you were not aware of any operations or could not recall any, at least of that nature, in the US, in which TSD had been involved where US citizens were targets. Is that correct? And SG says that is correct. And Wide says, I take it from the fact of both answers that as far as you can recall and were aware, TSD's participation in so-called audio operations or surreptitious entry operations in the US solely involved foreign targets in the sense of foreign facilities or foreign citizens. That doesn't make it better. And then SG says that is correct. And Wide says, notwithstanding that answer, may I for the record ask you if you are aware of any involvement of TSD in any kind of surveillance of newsmen such as Jack Anderson and his associates, or redacted, in the late 60s and very early 70s. And again, it's got, next to the redaction, it's got that 1.3 A4C. So they were surveilling newsmen. Newsmen in the late 60s and early 70s. These fuckers know no bounds. They don't care. They're watching everyone, foreign and domestic. And then SG says, I was not aware of any TSD involvement in those cases. And then Mr. Wyde says off the record again. And they have, you guessed it, more off the record discussions about their war crimes and the weird lettered agencies' involvement. And then Mr. Wyde says, back on the record. Just one last question in this category. Would the same negative answer be true in regard to any surveillance of redacted with that same 1.3 A4C next to it? That is TSD involvement that you were aware of. SG says, to my knowledge, there was no such surveillance. Mr. Wyde says, so to sum up, with regard to domestic operations against U.S. citizens in regard to audio surveillance or surreptitious entry, you are aware of none. With regard to foreign, let me go back. Is it your general belief that TSD would not have been involved in any activities if they were undertaken against Americans of that nature? And if it had occurred, it would have been undertaken by the Office of Security in the U.S.? And then Lenzner's shitty ass chimes in and says, that's a pretty speculative question. And SG says, the last part of it, I don't want to be pinned down to testifying yes on the last part of it because I don't know that. Shut up. You're the poisoner in chief. You did fucking MKULTRA and a bunch of other war crimes breaking down people's minds with drugs. Shut up. We're gonna pin your stupid testimony down because you did horrible things against the people and her planet. Planet and her people. Wyde says, I wanted to contrast that with the situation abroad, where I take it your answer is that Americans may have been targeted, but you are not aware of being told that. And then SG says, can we go off record? And Lenzner says, this question's already been asked and answered. And Gottlieb again says, can we go off the record for a minute? And they have more off the record discussion, talking about their war crimes and how to not get pinned down with all of this shit. And then Wyde says, back on the record, let me represent to you that the committee has seen information, CIA documents, indicating that they were able to provide the Justice Department with the numbers of Americans overheard the last 10 years in audio operations abroad. And let me ask you, based on your experience in the agency, how that information could have been obtained if you have any thoughts on that. They photocopied this page terribly. It's like an inch and a half over, so there's a bunch of words that are going to be cut off. Oh yeah, I already have missed some words, I guess. So yeah, the CIA and all of that has been listening to people abroad and doing things to us Americans abroad. You're not safe on American soil or off American soil. And then Lenzner says, that is a slightly different representation of what happened than what you said before. Before, I had the impression that there were 150 approximately Americans who have been surveilled abroad. And then Wyde corrects and says electronically. And Lenzner says, now you are saying that they were overheard. And Wyde says, yes, that is what I meant by electronic surveillance. So there were at least 150 Americans being surveilled abroad in the 1950s or 60s or 70s or so. Let's see. And then Lenzner says there is a substantial difference between electronically being overheard and being the target of the surveillance. Wyde says, I didn't mean to say they were electronically surveilled. I meant overheard. And the question I have is, since I take it even within that category, your answer would actually stand that the Technical Services Division records or recordings, as far as you know, would not have been able to produce that kind of information based on your experience in the DD. If you have any thoughts on how that information could have been produced, going back over a 10-year period. Let me put it affirmatively. Do you know of any office which would have records on the instances in which Americans were overheard by audio operations abroad, CIA audio operations? SG says, I will answer that question the same way I did informally a little earlier, and that is, I would look to some of the staff elements around the DDP's office for that information. Wyde says, I don't know what you mean by staff elements. And then SG says there was a staff structure that involved the CIA staff, or no, CI staff and the FI staff and several other staffs. I don't remember all of them. And those were what I considered the staff structure around the office of the DDP. And then Wide says off the record, and they have a bajillionth fucking off the record discussion. And then Wide says, do you recall an instance in which TSD provides a relatively unsophisticated device to the FBI for use against the domestic target? Just refilling my water, don't mind me. My mouth gets so dry reading through this, but we're on page 25 out of 98. So we're either going to get halfway through this or maybe even all the way through this, depending on how long it takes, because it's been almost an hour and we're about a third of the way through. So we'll see how that ends up going. Let's see. Wide says, I don't remember if I said this or not. Wide says, do you recall an instance in which TSD provided a relatively unsophisticated device to the FBI for use against the domestic target? And then Lenzner says, that is about as vaguely a worded question as I have ever heard. Do you have a memorandum that can help us on this? That's not a vaguely worded question. Did the TSD provide a device to the FBI to use against domestic targets? Not a hard question, dum-dum. Stop trying to deflect. And then Wide says, no, I don't have it here. And Lenzner says, that could be everything from a toy. Do you know what the device was? They're not talking about toys. They're talking about the instruments you use to commit war crimes, you dumb motherfucker. Stop trying to downplay this. You know what he's asking you. You know what he's asking, Sidney Gottlieb. You know what he's talking about. You know he's not talking about a fucking toy. This is not a toy. These are people's brains you broke. This is not funny. This is not a toy. He's not joking about children's toys. And then I think the implication from the context was that it was an audio surveillance. And then SG says, the reason I have trouble recalling anything specific on that, we did have an ongoing cooperative effort on the technical side where we would talk to them about the devices we had and where they would, as I remember it, buy devices or borrow devices that we had when they thought it would help them. And I can see lots of places where one of those could have been used on whatever they wanted to. Yeah, no shit. Why do you think they're buying it? They're buying it so they can do whatever they want, wherever they want, whenever they want. And then Wide says, but nothing comes to your mind as a particular item? And Gottlieb says, no. And Wide says, do you recall preparing a memorandum to the Deputy Director for Science and Technology in May of 1973 in the course of responding to Director Schlesinger's request for a summary of possibly questionable activities? So, yet another dude they doxed. And then SG says, in May of 1973, I don't think I was head of TSD then. And then Mr. Wides again says off the record, and they have another off the record discussion for who knows how long. And then Wide says back on the record. And SG says, I would just like to thank you before I leave for your cooperation in regard to questions in this area on your experience as head of the Technical Services Division. Generally, and insofar as I have been involved in it, for your cooperation with regard to other areas that the committee has sought your testimony on. And then Gottlieb says, thank you very much, and I want to say we appreciate you accommodating our time schedule by going through this today. And then someone named Mr. Maxwell says, would you like to take a little break? And they take a recess. And then Lenzner says, just for the record, I wanted to indicate that we have sent to the members of the committee a letter, but I'm guessing that meant to say letter, that reflected our profound concern on reading the front page of the Washington Post on October 11th, 1975, detailing disclosures of Dr. Gottlieb's testimony in executive session regarding certain events in the Congo in 1960, on which testimony was given on October 9th, 1975. Huh. Why do I feel like that's connected to the genocide ongoing in the Congo and all of the exploitation happening there right now? And I can assure the committee that neither myself or Dr. Gottlieb furnished any information that related to the substance or specifics of any testimony that Dr. Gottlieb gave, since it has been our position that the committee should determine ultimately, in coordination with executive agencies, what information has been made available to the public in the committee's final report. In discussions with Mr. Schwartz, other staff members, so again, they're not afraid of doxing more people, it is clear that the staff shares some concern about I can't make out that word, and the lead, I think it says, no, I can't tell what that says, of their sensitive and heretofore classified information, and our concern that the information was furnished to the new media while our request for Dr. Gottlieb to testify anonymously and not be referenced by name in the final report was being considered by the members of the committee. No, you don't get to let this motherfucker testify anonymously when he literally broke people's brains with chemicals and chemical warfare and drugs against their will without their consent. You don't get to give this fucker anonymity and any kind of legal protections. He belongs in the fucking Hague, or like the pits of hell, or the end of a noose, or a lot of things I can't say that would get me banned on Reddit. Like, why does he get protection? He was the poisoner in chief for MKULTRA, Project Artichoke, Project Bluebird, and God knows what else for the CIA. He does not deserve protection. He is not a man worthy of protecting. He is a scumbag piece of shit worm. Oh, yeah. This is another terribly photocopied thingamajiggity. I should tell the committee that some time ago, I'm just gonna like try my best to read the words like I think they're gonna be, but if I get them wrong, I get them wrong. But it feels like this was all photocopied poorly on purpose so that it's even harder to read. Because not only was this not named something that led back to Project Artichoke, but it's also photocopied terribly, and it's really hard to actually read and delve into, and it's 98 fucking pages long. All of this seems like they want to do as much as they can to hide behind bureaucracy and legalese and lettered agencies and legal protections that they should not be having access to. Let's see. I should tell the committee that some time ago, I can give them the specific date from my notes. Nick Herrick of the New York Times, again, they're doxing dudes left and right, called with some detailed information regarding Dr. Gottlieb's alleged participation in the matters he testified about last week, and also inquired into matters which may relate to the testimony today, one of which was the information he claimed he obtained from committee resources relating to chemohypnosis. What? What the fuck? What the fuck is chemohypnosis, y'all? I've never heard of that term. We're gonna Google that really quick together because Wait, does it not bring anything up? What? I can't find anything on chemohypnotherapy. Or chemohypnosis, I mean. It's just talking about using hypnosis for cancer patients to relax them, but I very much do not think that is what Sidney Gottlieb was in. For me, chemohypnosis is giving something like it was a chemically induced hypnosis state where the person was not aware of what was happening, because that goes along with everything in MKUltra and Project Artichoke and Project Bluebird and all of that. And Dr. Gottlieb participated in that activity, and also information related to something called Operation Hilltop, which he described. I swear to God, every time I read one of these operations, I get linked to like 10 or 20 more vile, awful operations that also happened. He called at approximately 5:20 on August 27th and said Operation Hilltop was a series of experiments and procedures to test the ability of people to withstand mind-bending drugs, interrogation and treatment, and that the Inspector General of the CIA had extended those experiments and that they were farmed out with the consent of the DDP to 2 private organizations. So they took it from the Inspector General of the CIA to at least 2 private organizations and branched it out, just like I was telling y'all earlier. They put it under private organizations so they don't have to tell us what they're doing. Oh my gosh. This shit pisses me off. He also said that the project was run under the supervision of the Technical Services Division. He said that there had been injuries as a result of the tests, but no deaths. I don't believe that. So who knows what these poor people were put through. Oh my God. Like, they stop at no lengths to do terrible things to people, because even in Artichoke, it was talking about how they poisoned the food, the water, the beer, the cigarettes, the liquor, the Coca-Cola, and like a ton more. It was in everything. And so this is giving, they didn't stop, they just changed it around, swapped some things out, changed out the drugs, changed out the organizations responsible, hid it under more and more paperwork and legalese so we can't find it, destroyed the results. Let's see. And then he said, we couldn't sue them because he had this information from good sources in both Rockefeller Commission and the Senate Select Committee on Intelligence. And he described in some detail the Lumumba incident, I think that says. So yeah, Rockefellers. The Rockefellers. It keeps coming back to the fucking Rockefellers. Fuck you, fucking Rockefellers. Rockefellers. Ay. He called subsequent to that a call? I don't know what that's supposed to say, and gave me further information on the so-called Operation Hilltop, which I recorded in my notebook and cannot locate now. Convenient. But it was sometime after that last date that I gave you. Oh my God. And then Mr. Maxwell says off the record, and they have yet another off the record motherfucking discussion. And Lenzner says, that is all I have. And Maxwell says, on the record, I think I can speak for the committee in saying that the committee's rules and procedures were designed in order that the rights of witnesses could be protected insofar as possible, and that confidential material obtained either from witnesses or from governmental agencies would not be divulged without the authorization of the committee. I am sure that the requests that you have made of the committee will be considered by them and dealt with appropriately. Off the record. And then they have another off the record discussion. Another one. And then Lenzner says, we found after that telephone call, which obviously concerned Dr. Gottlieb greatly after the news article. Good. Be concerned, motherfucker. That we received telephone calls from other representatives of the news media. Dr. Nick Harak, again from the Times, Dan Shore, requesting that Dr. Gottlieb make himself available for interviews both on TV and for the news media. So again, another dude they doxed. But Gottlieb is concerned for his privacy. And we jointly and mutually decided that we would maintain our posture of allowing the committee with the agencies determine what information should be made available to the public. But we found it most difficult, particularly in the area of incorrect reporting of the news leaks. That is to say, inaccurate information being provided with regard to Dr. Gottlieb's testimony, to not respond and answer the allegations that will be leaked to the press. In one instance, I did tell both reporters that while I couldn't discuss the details of the testimony for obvious reasons, that the impression of the Washington Post article left was whatever occurred regarding my client, which went up to and including the death of Mr. Lumumba, was totally false. Sure it was. And then Maxwell says, I want to make clear for the record that you are, in fact, are knowledgeable about your rights, Dr. Gottlieb, and the circumstances under which you are testifying. It is my understanding that this is voluntary and that you are accompanied by counsel, that you are aware that you have the right to terminate this interview anytime, and you have the right to remain silent. You have a right, if you would like, to not go any further without a senator present. And I understand from your presence here that until such time as you otherwise indicate, you are agreeable to remaining. I don't trust that he suddenly wanted to go talk about all this stuff and was truthful about any of it. I don't trust any of these men were truthful about anything. Because if y'all remember, Trump wouldn't even swear on the Bible when he took his oath for office the second time, and probably the first time too. He wouldn't even swear on it. So I I don't trust these men swearing on Bibles and giving their, saying they won't lie under oath. If you don't believe in any of that stuff and you're willing to do all of these war crimes to people that got you here, what the fuck makes you think he suddenly wants to tell all and give you the inside scoop and be honest and open about any of it? Like, this is so, ugh, so sketchy and it's so stupid. Also, really crazy they involve senators and Senate and committees and stuff like that, and I hate all these men. You understand you have a right to a senator present, and you can terminate at any time, and I take it from your attendance and participation that until you acknowledge otherwise, you are willing to go forward with the deposition without a senator present and under the oath you took binding you from the testimony last Thursday. Is that correct? Again, I don't buy that he cares about what he swore about under oath. I don't buy it. And then SG says, yes. Maxwell says, and I take it that the presence of Mr. Lenzner indicates your desire to have an attorney present. And Lenzner says the answer is yes. And it is not voluntary, the presence of his attorney. Maxwell says, that is an area that we decided not to question people about. If you would like to raise it for the record, Dr. Gottlieb, you may do so. And then SG says, I would like to defer to my counsel. Maxwell says, what I would like to do today is to call your attention back to the earlier years after your joining the CIA and focus on the work that was being done by the CIA in regard to the research in the area of the testing of drugs, as well as research being done in regard to the work of opposition services in the area of drugs, particularly as this relates to narcotics, but also as it relates to the larger question of the control of individuals, willing or unwilling, the extraction of information from those individuals, or the performance of actions by those individuals, either in accordance with or contrary to their ethical standards. So again, this is saying they are using drugs to control individuals and get information from them against their will without their consent, and doing all kinds of awful, terrible, horrible, no good, very bad things to them. Ethical standards, my ass. The dominant CIA program began, to the best of my knowledge, under Project Bluebird, and it changed names to Project Artichoke, which is the one we read on live last time. And it is on those two programs and their intercession with other CIA research programs and other DoD programs on which I would like to focus today. I think we're probably going to call it here in like a page or two, because my voice is starting to get raspy and my mouth is starting to get dry, and no amount of like little slurping on my water is seeming to help it. It's also almost exactly a third through the document of 98 pages, so it might be like a really good like 3-parter series that I end up doing with this. The mode that I would like to use is to go through a series of documents with you, and I hope you recall what was being done at that time. At certain point, I will be asking you about documents which were written prior to your joining the agency, but which you might have seen and which might help you recall the events of those times. Okay, yeah, so we'll finish off this page and then we'll do the next page, so that'll be 33 pages of the 98 that we've gotten done. And then I think I'll go through the live chat and see if you, before I end it, and see what you guys are saying other than the weirdly sexual ones and the weird ones and the trolls and the bots and stuff, and do like a little bit of live Q&A for those of you who have stayed this long to listen to everything. And if you're watching this played back on my channel, then it's just more of you getting to see me respond to the things that you were watching pop up as I'm reading this. I'm actually not sure how it works for the live chat once I post it on there, but I know I enabled the feature that allows you to see all the live comments as they go on, so that'll be interesting. Y'all got to see all the really weird sexual stuff that came up in Project Artichoke's live last time for some reason. Question mark, question mark, question mark. Is the CIA doing weird things with sexual bots? Question mark, question mark, question mark. Let's see. Oh, what did I do? I understand the difficulty in harking back 20-odd years, and I appreciate your effort in doing do. I guess that was supposed to say in doing so. And then SG says, pardon me for a minute, I want to consult with my counsel. And they confer with the counsel. And then SG says, I would like to ask you a question. Has Morse Allen appeared and given sworn testimony? Another dude they doxed. So my guess is that guy has some also shady, shitty information that he doesn't want to share or that SG doesn't want to talk about until he knows for sure the first guy's already routed. Otherwise, he's going to be like, oh, I just don't, that just doesn't exist. I don't know. I'm not sure. I don't know. I don't know anything about that. Off the record. Let's go off the record. And then Maxwell says he hasn't given sworn testimony. He was interviewed at his house. And he went over all the information we had at that point on Bluebird and Artichoke to find out whether he was unable to substantially recall any of the events of that time. And then SG says he was unable. I mentioned that only because he seems to be the key individual. Interesting. Okay, so Gottlieb and this, what was his name? Morse Allen guy seem to be very, Morse Allen and Sidney Gottlieb seem to be very sketchy and interconnected to this. And then let's see. Okay, last page we'll do for today. Maxwell says there is a memorandum for the file which was dated 8 June 1951 on the subject of Commander Williams' discussions with third agency employees. And then SG says, I remember seeing that here. Let me look for it. The date again? And Maxwell says 8 June 1951. And SG says, maybe that is not the one I have. Maxwell says the memo references ASPIC and the relationships between CIA and that operation. And SG says ASPIC? And Maxwell says, yes. I was wondering if you recall either specifically or generally. And SG says, my remembrance of the word ASPIC was a case that is not a specific cryptonym, but rather a military funding channel. That is all I remember about ASPIC. And Maxwell says, do you remember whether that funding channel was used for funding Special Operations Division at SOD? The Special Operations Division at Fort Detrick. And then SG says, I really don't have a specific recollection of that. You seem to be referring to it as a project cryptonym, as though it had a substantive aspect. And Maxwell says, that wasn't what I meant. And Gottlieb says, I see. Well, it might or might not have been, but my memory for that detail of funding is not that clear. And then we'll get into the rest of it tomorrow, I think, when I go on live with y'all. Let's get into the comments now. I see what you beautiful beautifuls had to say that weren't weird robots and trying to say very weird things, do very strange things. Wow. Holy crap, there's a lot of comments. Wow. Yeah, see, the very first comment on this live was also a weirdly sexual one. Yep. A lot of these are weird. Jeez Louise. A lot of these are weird. Trump is in the Trumpstein files more than he's ever been in Melania. Wasn't he up to like 35,000 mentions last we counted or something like that? Oh my god. Oh my god. Every cell phone and TV has a microphone in it. Every speaker is also a microphone. Common knowledge. Just needs a transmitter to make it into a bug very small. Yeah. Audio operation. There's not a good way to summarize all of this, my friends. It's just reading the testimony of Dr. Sidney Gottlieb and all the stuff that he did with Project MKULTRA or with MKULTRA, Project Bluebird, Project Artichoke, all that stuff. Catching you from down under. Hey! I'm assuming that means Australia. I have a lot of Australians, like a lot of Australians in my comments that have been watching my stuff, because that thing at the bottom of that mirror right there with all the countries and states and stuff on it is where I've been tracking all of my engagement. And oh my gosh, so many of you guys are from Australia. It's actually insane. I don't know if there's something up with the Australian algorithm or something, but that's really interesting. Is oil from fossils or renewed minerals? I think neither. I think the oil is actually the blood of the planet herself. Do you identify as a targeted individual or gang stalked or whatever the terminology might be? I feel like it's ramping up. No, I don't, but I do know I'm on a lot of lists because I've directly called the FBI and a bunch of the other lettered agencies, and I've released some of the calls to you guys, but I still have a handful more that I haven't gone through because I've got, I don't even know how many videos archived. It's like 400 gigabytes of videos I have archived at this point because I've been doing this for 2 or 3 years now. And so I want to go back and I'll end up posting all of my calls at some point, but I'm constantly being called to create right now. And so trying to go back through my archives and archive everything and bring it all back up and cross-platform post it is a lot. So I'm doing what I can where I can. We have a Second Amendment obligation to remove Trump from our nation. Yeah, I agree. I know. It's just enough people aren't enforcing it, and it's because we have the world's largest military. And I fear if we did try to do something to stop it in that way, they would unleash a bunch of weapons we're not even aware of on us, like Havana syndrome shit and direct energy weapons and stuff like that, and like liquefy our ears and our organs in a way that we can't fight back against. So I think we have to do this differently than any other country or any other situation before because of the things our military and our lettered agencies have access to. Havana syndrome is real, along with all the stuff involved with chemtrails and all the other stuff like 5G and Starlink. Oh, 1,000%, yeah. 1,000%. The glasses, you look like Miss Butterbean from the Grim Adventures of Billy Maid. Okay, wait. I wasn't allowed to watch that show as a kid, actually. Who is Mrs. Butterbean? That's so funny, I do. I caught, like, very rare episodes of that whenever I was, well, I wasn't technically allowed to watch Cartoon Network either, but that's really funny that that's you think that. A fake Native American? What? When did I ever claim to be Native American, baby? I talk all the time about how pasty white I am. My last name's Heffelfinger. I'm very German. I am not a Native American in the slightest. Interesting. Elizabeth Warren is her mom? What? What? I'm not sure who that's referring to. Elizabeth Warren is not my mother. Gang stalker in chat thinking they're clever with multiple fake accounts. We get it. You have these channels hacked and are providing evidence. You're a part of it and entangled with all of it. Interesting, huh? Who do y'all think is the gang stalker? At this point, I don't even care. I've had so many weird threats and so many weird comments. Baby, I've been getting bullied since I remember having a memory. Like, I got funky teeth, I'm white as shit, I was a band nerd, I have huge curly hair, and it used to be out to, like, here when I was a kid. My head looked like a bell. Like, nothing y'all weirdos can say in the comments is gonna throw me. That's really funny. Like, whenever I first started doing this, I literally had someone say they couldn't wait for Suits to show up at my door and take me away, so nothing y'all are gonna say in the comments is gonna get to me at all. If they were gonna get me at this point, I would have been got when I started all of this years ago, calling these lettered agencies and lived alone and had a repetitive routine and stuff like that. They could take me out at any time. They have my location at all times. They're tracking us with our fucking biometric markers and shit like that. Like, I'm guided by something so much bigger than these stupid lettered agencies. I am not at all scared of them. That's so funny to me. Can tell you read by your looks. Okay. They have no oversight of the CIA and tech and are gaslit into thinking they can experiment on people and don't have to account for their actions. You wish it wasn't in Dr. Pepper, boohoo, lol. Honestly, at this point, I think it's in all of our sodas and like all of our foods because of all of the insane additives that they have. Because it even mentioned in the Project Artichoke documents that we read, like I said, after I get off this live, I'll go ahead and link all 5 of those in that Project Artichoke live that's already on my YouTube from last time. But it talked about putting it in pretty much everything that they could think of to put it in a way that was unable to be measured. So at this point, I think it's in everything. And even I actually was thinking about it yesterday because I drank one of those like brand new Dr. Pepper with the coconuts in it, and it said like limited edition stuff like that. Kind of it gave me a weird download of like I wonder if these new edition limited time things are them trial running new certain chemical cocktails on the population and seeing how it affects us and especially how it affects certain races and stuff like that and people with certain genetic markers because that was something else I think either in the Epstein files or something that David Wilcox or someone was talking about where it was talking about certain people have certain genetic markers and all kinds of different countries and these lettered agencies have been doing all kinds of things to specifically target these certain genetic markers and things like that. So I think it's in all of the limited edition things and stuff like that too. I don't know. We're in a simulation run by things gaslit into thinking they don't lose by doing hella felonies. Their time always comes. Yes, it does. And it's coming right now. I keep sharing it with you guys. I literally keep getting the visual of the people that are doing these war crimes, the patriarchy, capitalism, the military industrial complex, big pharma, big oil, religion, all of that stuff. I keep getting the feeling every single one of them, it's almost like this giant egregore of nasty, and it's like hanging off a cliff over the pits of Tartarus, or even I'm getting a feeling it's even worse than that. That like Tartarus was easy compared to that, like light mode compared to this, what they're getting. And it's literally like they're clawing on with the edge of their nails to prevent themselves from being sucked down into the whirlpool of nasty that they themselves have created and have to suffer through, as the rest of us are way above them, getting out of this funk and figuring it out and rising and ascending into the 5D. And I'm getting the download of like one by one as they're clawing on. It's like they lose their pinky, then they lose their ring finger, then they lose their other pinky, and then they lose their other ring finger, and they're just like barely able to hold on. They're like digging in with the tips of their nails all of the last of their resources to try to keep from being absolutely sucked down, but it's inevitable. It's slow because it has to be slow because the amount of weapons and stuff that they have that they would do things with is beyond our comprehension. But if we break their systems before they can use the weapons, their weapons are useless. And according to my live I did with y'all on my channel about the CIA's analysis and assessment of the gateway process, one single focused human mind is billions of times stronger than the surface of the sun herself. One mind. And my collective alone has 7 to 10 million minds in it who also are tapped into this shit, reading this shit along with me, getting all of the viewpoints and adding to my documents and adding to my research and furthering things in the comments about the patterns that they see and stuff like that too. Yeah, like he's suddenly gonna dish the info out. Literally, like why would Sidney Gottlieb suddenly be leaking the tea to us? I don't believe any of it. I think it's so much worse and weirder and convoluted than we know. It's technically not war crimes, it's crimes against humanity. I genuinely feel like that should be an even more immediate sentence of something, but like the death penalty is too kind for that. Like you should become one of the slaves in the Congo farming lithium for all your new iPhones and stuff like that, or I don't even know. Even that doesn't feel like enough to make you repay for the things you have done against humanity. I was gonna say humans and humanity at the same time. No, because why does bro have a right to a senator? Literally, that's what I meant. Like, why do you get the right to a senator and counsel and an attorney and all of these off the record times? That's ridiculous. That sounds like the effect that the Epstein plant produces in victims. Yes, I mentioned that in the Project Artichoke live. If you guys haven't seen that one that I posted already, whenever we were reading those 5 documents, it specifically mentions scopolamine, and it made me think back to how the trumpet flowers were mentioned in the Epstein files. I don't remember the file name and number, but the Epstein files mentioned the trumpet flowers and how well they were growing and stuff like that. And if I'm not wrong, they make scopolamine, and that's what they were using to drug some of these victims. Like I'm telling you, it's all connected. The CIA was doing all of this research, and then Epstein and his crew, who are all involved in all of this, they're all in all of the government, it's in all of the lettered agencies, it's all one big fucked up group of people. They took that information and they used it to start fucking sexually assaulting children and whoever they wanted and doing whatever they wanted, and then you weren't in control of your body. You didn't remember a lot of the process and all of that. They send trolls and bots to your channel by adding metadata to accounts like yours. They aren't organic. They're purposely sending those accounts to your channels. Interesting. I thought so. But like I said, it doesn't bother me. If anything, it's engagement for the algorithm. Push my shit out to more people's lives, please. It's so pathetic to me. It's like, why? You're wasting your time. For what? Yes, you've done so much work, bestie. Make sure you get that beautiful brain some rest. Thank you so much. Oh, you guys have no idea. I meant it when I said I have a crush on every single one of y'all in my collective, and that like I just want to take each and every single one of you and give you a big old kiss on your big old beautiful brains, because oh my gosh, y'all get it so much, and we're all taking care of each other here and working on all of this together to make all of this come to light. That's how we break the matrix veil. is enough of the population becomes aware of something, and then the hold that it has completely dissolves on all of humanity. Just to derail things and break people's spirits, yup. Seems to be a key individual, yup. Any updates on the dream person? I heard the name and a thing about the missing scientists, but didn't think to connect it till after, though. I could be wrong, but the video I saw made me go, "Whoa." Oh? Oh, are you talking about that dream I had about the guy named Gage, where it was spelled Gage? I haven't seen that name in record. You know what? Let's go. Let's see if it brings anything up real quick. I don't think it's talking about a 19th century railroad foreman. Let's see. I can't find anything on a Gage. If you guys know what I'm talking about, I would love to know. Let's see. Oh my gosh, there's so many comments, I keep losing them all. Oh, yep, another weird whatever bot, Mrs. Butterbean. Elite ball knowledge, yeah. Likely targeted, terrible terms, heavy cyber stalking, and other stuff with tech related to Monarch and others. I guess you mean Project Monarch? Yeah. I've been getting cyber stalked for a long time. I've had a lot of weird stuff happen with my tech. I've had a lot of weird stuff with my camera and my microphones and my audio getting taken away, all kinds of stuff. At this point in the past 2 or 3 years, with all the things I've done with lettered agencies and things like that, all the work I've spoken on, nothing surprises me anymore. It might catch me off guard for a little bit, but then I pivot and I go, okay, yep. Until I'm dead, I'm not going to stop. And even then, I've read your documents about how we don't ever actually die. So that's also not going to stop me. I really don't like the increase of scary, weird sexual bots in the chat. It wasn't like this in the beginning. I know. Yeah. It was like this when I did the Project Artichoke live last time. It was like I just didn't read the comments for most of that live or pretty much all of this one because of that, because it was pretty much constantly weirdly sexual bots saying like, "Hey, I want to use you as a cum rag. Hey, I want to get you pregnant and make you have my babies. Hey, where do you want me to finish?" And I was like, "Okay. I'm reading Project Artichoke documents about them poisoning us and causing us anxiety and depression and amnesia and dementia. That's a really weird thing for you to say. Like, you're the weird one here. That's not throwing me off my game. You just look like an idiot in my chat, so I'm just gonna let you do your thing." I don't like it either, but at the same time, like I said, engagement, just ignore them, I guess, and you guys get to see a part of what I'm dealing with and a part of all of the weird comments and DMs that I get, and that's the reason I don't really respond to a lot of stuff, and I really just keep focusing on creating because for some reason these bots like to be weird, and I don't know why. They add metadata to your streams, and they only send terrible people in chat. 1 or 2 people with multiple fake accounts, all fake engagement, dead internet. I'm in a near exact situation. I'm so sorry you're in a similar situation. Farm the engagement, babes. Get that bag. It really makes me wonder if it's bots doing that or if it's like CIA dudes that they contract out and pay to say weirdly sexual things like is your game that bad or is this a bots game that's that bad? Like it's so stupid. If you're not upsetting people, you're not doing much. Found you on Instagram this morning. I totally agree, and thank you so much for finding me. I'm so glad you guys have found me. I can't believe I have almost 50,000 of you guys on Instagram now at this point, and I was just able to monetized on Instagram, so hopefully that'll start sending some sort of income in soon. But it doesn't back pay for my video that got like millions of views, and I'm really sad about that. I also was just able to monetize on Facebook of all places because I have a Facebook creator page. Who would have thought Facebook, out of all of the platforms I've started doing stuff on so far, I've already generated $35. I haven't been paid that $35 because it's got to wait like a month or so to upload, but somehow Facebook of all places is paying me the most out of all the platforms I've been doing, and I'm kind of kicking myself in the pants for not doing the cross-platform posting since I started years ago. Because when I started this, I was just originally making TikTok videos because I found out of all the interfaces, TikTok has been the best so far because you can record instantly. The algorithm is interesting. It allows you to auto caption pretty much immediately, and then I can just go through and like fix up the captions however I want them to be and make sure that they're good. And then I can also add like stickers. I can add the little text chat bubbles above. I can add all of the little like hashtags and things like that. I can change my thumbnail. And then once I post it, TikTok is the only platform I found so far that automatically downloads the video onto my phone or whatever technology technology I'm using at the time, so that I can save that video for my personal digital archives and then also cross-platform post it anywhere else I want to. So for the first, I think, year or two of the 3 or so I've been doing this at this point, I was only on TikTok, and it's only been within the past, I think since February, that I started also doing Instagram and a Facebook creator page and then also my YouTube. But I've had YouTube for a while actually, but I wasn't really active on it consistently. But now I pretty much cross-platform post everything everywhere as much as I can. So that's been really interesting seeing the difference in engagement numbers and like how I've still continued to be getting TikTok bans throughout all of this. Facebook is growing at an insane rate, and I swear it's like every time I check my notifications, it's like several hundred people have followed me, and like my things are blowing up over there, and I've got over 3,000 followers now, and it's very interesting. And then I just hit over 1,000 on YouTube, and I still need to make my little shout out on here for that. And I'm almost at halfway of my watch hours on YouTube so that this channel could get monetized. But then again, this one also doesn't back pay you for any of the things that you've done before you got monetized. But I'm really excited for that still, because then I'll be like a YouTuber, and that's been something I've been wanting to do since I was like 15, I think. I my entire life I've been talking to everyone in my life about how I've been feeling like I'm called to something bigger, and it feels like within the past couple years, following my intuition with all of this, it's just I found what I'm meant to be called for. The something bigger found me because I followed my intuition and dove headfirst into all of this with you guys. And I lost a couple shitty ex-fiancés and shitty partners and shitty friends, and I gained over 10 million new friends who are on the exact same page and who care about all of these things deeply and who see the patterns and who have read other psyops and have other documentation to give me and other rabbit holes for me to fall down and stuff like that. And it just genuinely has been so life-changing and amazing. I am so enamored with each and every single one of y'all in my collective. Y'all are so cool. I really genuinely wish that I could respond to every single one of y'all, but I'm not joking when I say I have hundreds, if not thousands, of comments every single day across my YouTube, my Instagram, my TikTok, my Facebook creator page. I also have a Substack. I also have a Discord. Like, there is literally too much engagement for my fingers and my brain and my eyeballs to keep up with. But just know, if you ever see me at any point in time space, or even if you don't, I love you, and I'm holding it down and sending you love your direct way. I am doing all of this shit for all of us to help save humanity and the planet. See, ignore the low vibrations, keep striving for them high vibes. I try. I do have a Discord. But I honestly, I don't know what to do about it because a lot of people keep asking, and I have a lot of people in my Discord, and I have thousands of unread messages in there at this point. So I don't know when I'm going to be able to have the spoons and the time to go back in there and try to read all of it. I was trying to keep up with all of it. I was trying to have a bunch of different channels and stuff. And it kind of just took on a life of its own, like my comment sections across all of my platforms have. So I don't know if it would be worth it for me to post the link to the Discord again and have it just be kind of a community on its own where you guys can talk about everything amongst yourselves and give all of this information to each other and maybe talk about things I talk about and stuff like that. Like, I really want to keep up with you guys, but I can't even keep up with a Discord, let alone all of the bajillion different platforms I'm trying to actively engage with. So I don't know. I'm gonna sit with that one, but maybe we do just let the Discord become its own thing again, where I let that grow with even more of you guys and just let you guys have a spot to talk about. But I also know there was that whole thing where Discord was trying to do like the facial verification and age verification. And I'm super uncomfortable with that and super uncomfortable with the idea of funneling you guys into something that forces that. But also at the same time, you guys are grown adults that consent to that if you want to, or you can not touch it if you don't want to. So I don't know. I guess if I get enough comments about it, or maybe I'll just sit with it and think on it. I really don't know what to do with that. I don't know. I'm sorry. I'll think on that because I have gotten a lot of messages about a Discord, and there is definitely one that's full of a lot of really smart people, and you guys are all really smart people who I would love to have in there. But I'm also worried about getting bots in there. especially with the weird bot engagement that I've gotten. I'm worried about having just like a general Discord link for everyone to go into, and that the Discord's just going to get saturated with bots that suck, and it's going to fuck up the vibe and fuck up the Discord itself that's already been around for a really long time. But also, I don't want to gatekeep and keep anybody out of there if they want to be in there. But I can't go through and like one-on-one send each of you a Discord link, because like I said, I don't have the time and the spoons and the brain space for all of that. I don't know. If you guys know a good way to figure that out and get through that, feel free to leave it in the comments for me if you have any suggestions on this. Because I really would love for all of us to connect more. Because I'm already seeing how much all of my communities are growing and connecting to themselves in the comments, and it's been insane. Like, y'all feed each other some really good information, and it's like, I love y'all for that. Y'all are constantly like, dude, here's this to look into, here's this to look into, here's that to look into. For me and for each other. We're just walking dormant cancer at this point. 5G towers only amp that shit up too. Yeah, literally 1,000%. Yeah. That's why I'm fasting today, and why I've been focusing on like trying to wear fully linen and stuff like that. And like I use Castile soap and coconut oil and like all kinds of essential oils and things like that. I try to use as little microplastics, as little PFAS, as little endocrine disruptors and hormone disruptors as possible. Because yeah, they've literally turned us into cancer towers at this point, because big pharma profits, big oil profits. We should start a Discord coven and do magic together. Everything is magic. All of our words are magic. Words are spells. That's something I've told you guys before. I keep getting the downloads of images of the patriarchy crumbling. Yeah, same. Like that little thing that I shared y'all earlier. Or that I shared with y'all earlier about the patriarchy holding on like that. I've also gotten the download I shared with y'all a bunch before in the past about, it feels like for a very long time now, the patriarchy has been turning into an Ouroboros, where it's the snake eating its own tail. And it's so hungry. Its hunger is insatiable. And it's gotten to the point where it's eating its own tail, and it only has so much left to go before there's nothing left to eat. We are winning. Yes, we are. Their grip on us is weakening. Yes, all of us. I love that. You guys get it so much. Yes. Always got to document stuff and have a paper trail, because like MKUltra and them deleting stuff rather than turning docs over. Yeah. Yep. Or like how Trump had how many boxes of declassified or maybe even classified documents. Wasn't it like in his bathroom or living room or dining room or something up at Mar-a-Lago, where he just casually was holding them and should not have had access to them, let alone had them in his private residence? I'm not lying. Once after your vid about giving affirmations to water, I don't know why, but I tried to concentrate and there was a quick burst of rain and light in this and a light in the sky. That's really cool. I believe it 1,000%. I believe it 1,000%. I've seen bursts of light and like UFOs and things like that. I just saw one, was it a couple weeks ago? I just saw one while I was out at a concert with a friend, where it was we were watching a concert at there was a bar behind us, a stage in front of us, and then railroad tracks to the left of us. And my attention got drawn to a part of the sky, and then not even a second after I looked there, it was this greenish white flash that just went straight down for like 2 or 3 seconds. And I looked at it and I went, whoa! And I tapped my friend on the shoulder and I was like, look at that! And he looked right at it. He didn't see it. He didn't see any of it. For the whole time it lasted, he didn't notice it at all. But the sound guy that was sitting right in front of me looked at me and he went, you saw that too? And I was like, wait, you saw that? And it was like the two of us were the only people out of like the 50 or 60 that were at that event that saw that little green white streak in the sky. And I think it's 1,000% because only some people can see past the veil. Because of all of this distortion and manipulation and energetic and frequency disturbances, it's like unless you have focused your energy or you're just tapped in naturally somehow, you're still behind the veil, and you cannot see things in the same way that some people can see. Like I can see auras, my brother can see entities, my mom can see auras and entities. Like I think it's all connected. It's only sometimes that you get to see it. Let's see. Oh, where did I? Oh my gosh, there's so many comments. Wow. I just saw a plane do a chemtrail in person for the first time right now. Ooh, I hate that for you. I made a video of it that I showed you guys the other day where I caught them. I think it was in Thailand, where it was literally the Department of Rainmaking and Agriculture where they were out at like 2 or 3 a.m. just spraying the skies. Literally all of the military planes that were in the sky in that area were from the Department of Rainmaking, making rain, Operation Lack, Operation Sea Spray style, where they're just spraying whatever chemicals they want. Scopolamine's no joke, makes you go insane for 3 days and think you're in hell. I hate that. I hate that so bad. I hate that so bad. Oh man. So yeah, they've been fucking around with some really bad shit the whole time. ILYSM. You guys all have my heart. Hey from NZ. I'm guessing that's New Zealand. Hello, New Zealand. All you down unders really like to find me through the algorithm somehow. I wonder if that's because it's being pushed a lot in just down south, it seems. Yeah, it's good. Just unfortunately, the metadata shows it to terrible people and hides it from the ones your message should most get out to, most corrupt timeline. Yeah, I know it does, but like I said, I trust it at this point. I have had so much proof over the years I've done this that I am not only being shielded from like the worst of the worst, and that's why I'm still alive and I keep making all these videos about, hey, if something happens to me, wasn't me that did it, it's one of the agencies that I'm poking the eyeballs of. But also why I've been able to continue going to this point is because I think that the algorithm and the good energies, entities, whatever it is that you believe in, whatever it is that the truth is, are helping me with this. That's why I keep getting these weird intuitive hits and finding all of these things and connecting all of these dots that really shouldn't connect unless someone is able to zoom out and see it from a wider lens, almost is how it feels, and it's fascinating to me. Love your brain. I love yours too. Mwah! Prison planet theory where archons have control of algorithms. Yeah, I very much think it's kind of prison planet theory, but I also kind of think it's like ultimately for our highest good theory. If you're willing to get out of your ego and get out of your 3D and into the 5D and question everything and awaken and go through all of the spiritual everythings of just questioning every part of this. And it really makes me think back for some reason to that video I made with you guys last night about the flower of life, where it's all of those interlapping circles. I think all of them are different branches of time and different timelines and different lifetimes and things like that. But it's ultimately all for that same, like, unified beauty thing that's just life and the absolute of everything that is. I think that it's for good if you learn how to harness it, and it's for bad if you let it suck you into your ego and your comfort and just the depths of the darkness of the things that are happening. But if you see the darkness and the depths of it all, you acknowledge it, you refuse to let it land in your energetic frequency and stuff like that. You just call attention to it, reject it, and then move on. I think that's the key. Where it's like, no, I see that this is actually you trying to control my brain this way. I refuse to let that happen, but I note it. I'm going to acknowledge it and tell everyone else about it so they're no longer under the influence of this bullshit. And then we're all just going to collectively be over here on the other side of the playground because you guys are weird and throwing rocks at us and nobody wants to play with you. So soon enough, you're going to have to start throwing rocks at each other because you want to throw rocks and there's nobody to throw rocks at. Unity creates reality, and who controls unity creates reality. Yeah. Yep. And we're all unifying together under love and light because we're tired of the oppression and suppression and manipulation and distortion and systems of control and abuse. Oh, there's another bot, I think. The guy on the moon must be caught up on all the memes. Oh my god, that's a throwback. That's a very niche throwback, and I love you for that. Of me talking about that guy that was trapped up on the moon and how we were all gonna go up on there and talk to him and try to rescue him. I still haven't been able to actually get up there in my dreams. I don't know what it is. Every single time I try to sit there and focus on that with you guys, I have really weird dreams or I don't remember my dreams. And it just really makes me think to like, I think they're farming our dreams because there was something else that I saw on, I think, Instagram the other day about that, where there was a CIA project where they were harvesting and interfering with our dreams, which makes sense because when I went on live with y'all and read the CIA's analysis and assessment of the gateway process, it also mentioned 3 or more people or like groups of people could share a dream and an astral experience, and that it could be purposely induced to make certain people share astral experiences. So Gage, if you're out there, ILY, hit me up, boy. Loosh farm. Yup. No, we win against the Loosh farm. Yeah, too easy. Yeah, I think so. I think that they have been harvesting our energy and our intention and all of that, but I think it's gotten to a point where we're cutting it off. We're realizing it and we're stopping it, and I'm getting the feeling of, I know that there's a parallel to this somewhere in media of like some bad guy who sucks up a bunch of energy, and instead of it making him really powerful, it explodes him with all of that energy, and then all of that energy just goes back to wherever it was. It's also kind of reminding me of Scooby-Doo Spooky Island, very niche movie if you guys have seen that movie, but it literally has like a whole thing where it's like a resort. It's like a resort, and they harvest the souls of the people who stay there, and they put them in this weird pot in the middle that's supposed to go to some demon guy under a spiky disco skeleton globe What? And there were weird, like, demon entities with elastic faces and stuff like that in it too. I need to rewatch that movie because what the fuck? That's another one of those truth in media things like I was telling y'all. There's no way that's a coincidence that I'm getting drawn back to that right now. Oh, gotta wash that pickle and olive juice down with a little bit of water. Chaos creates complexity, complexity creates complacency, complacency creates chaos. Yep. Yep. But complexity also creates beauty is what I've learned. There was actually there was a really, really, really good essay that I wish I still had access to over beauty versus chaos that I wrote in one of my early college classes back when I was like 17 and I was getting my associates and finishing high school at the same time. Oh man, it was beautiful. It was about how like the forces of evil and destruction and chaos are really bad and entropy is always a thing, but also at the same time creation on the other hand is also constantly going and beauty is constantly birthing and consciousness is constantly waking up and questioning things and putting things together and leading to even more beauty and even more beautiful interactions and even more experiences of love and things like that. Man, I really wish I could I might try to see if there's a way I can somehow find that. Maybe I have it in like my Google Drive or something. I'll read that to you guys on a video at some point if I can find it because that was so fascinating. Oh, why is it? Hello? Please let me see the rest of my comments. What? Why is it not? Ah! Does it not let me go all the way back through all of my comments? Because now I can't see as far back as I was. I was so much. You shouldn't have to read disgusting stuff like that. I know, but it's part of the job. I've just gotten used to it at this point. Essentially targeted individual again, terrible term for it, but you'll see the overlap. Ah! What the heck? It keeps moving my comments. Low vibrational garbage, ignore the low vibes and keep attracting the high vibes. You do it so well. Thank you. I try my best. Honestly, I think just by showing up authentically, what needs to come will come, good and bad and neutral. I'm just trusting the algorithms, trusting the energies and entities that have been around me my whole entire life, and trusting myself. I've gotten to this point where I'm like, I've been doing this for years now. I've garnered millions of views. I've gone global and viral. I've reached all but 11 US states and over 20 countries just with 2 of my videos. And those were low performing videos, not even the ones that have hit millions to give me those 7 to 10 million views. So it's just, at this point, I just fully trust that what is meant to happen will happen. There's no such thing as coincidence, and I am being divinely guided by my highest self and everything else that wants to help put the planet and her people on their highest path. Ooh, the metadata they add to your chats will tell algorithms to send your stuff to sex offenders and psychopaths. Ooh, I hate that. I hate that. My second ex-fiance was a pedophile and the first was a rapist. I hate that. I hate that. The bot's gotta be CIA. Yeah, honestly, I wouldn't be surprised. Might be bot farms they own or pay to do it. Yeah. Your IG is fire. That's how I find you too. Found you too. Thank you. I love you. I love you. I love you. I love you. I do my best. I put so much effort and energy and attention into every single piece of my content, even if it's me being goofy silly. That's just me trying to like offload the stress and the seriousness of all the stuff I talk about so that it's not constantly, hey, here's a war crime. Hey, here's a war crime. Hey, here's a war crime. Hey, do you want to dissociate for a little bit hearing about another awful war crime you can't do anything to stop? So sometimes I break it down and I get a little goofy silly with you guys. And I love doing it. I love being such a multifaceted person. See, right? The CIA's AI must be 20 years ahead and 20 years more bigoted. No, honestly, according to my research, I think it's at least 50 to 75 years ahead, if not more. Because it seems like it's at least 50 years or so that these things end up getting declassified, or like 50 years later that these things end up getting declassified, if not more. Like, I think they are way more ahead of us. I wouldn't be surprised if they're 100 years more advanced than us at this point. Hi, babe. Wow, about taking away our right to choose to abort. Yeah, I know. I'm really sad about that. Reading about that was really upsetting. And the I can't remember what the name is it of it is, but the basically plan B that you were supposed to be able to get through the mail, now you can no longer legally get as of a couple days ago, and you have to go in person to a doctor's appointment to get it. That's crazy. That's gonna kill a lot of people. A lot of people cannot afford to go to doctor's appointments and get stuff like that, or their doctors are racist pieces of shit or overly religious zealots who think that women shouldn't be allowed to have access to birth control because having sex should mean baby, and that's the only way women can be women. Otherwise, they're wrong and bad. And that's crazy to me. But I also knew some crazy shit was coming, and I knew they were gonna overturn Roe v. Wade. Like just with Project 2025 and the way everything was going, I knew it was gonna be bad. So luckily, right before that happened, I was lucky enough to use my insurance right before I got laid off because I worked at Custom Ink. Fuck you, Custom Ink, for laying off all your people right after Christmas. Horrible company. They're still working through vendors though. But I used their insurance right before they laid us all off, and I got myself spayed like a stray right before Roe v. Wade was overturned and I was laid off. So I don't got to worry about any of that, but I can very loudly advocate for the women who can or who do have to worry about that because a lot of people get trapped in situations where they either get pregnant accidentally, they get assaulted and they get pregnant from that, or they're underage and they get pregnant and they're not ready to have a baby. They never wanted a kid in their lives. Maybe it was even like an incest rape baby and something horrible like that. You should very much be able to have the rights over your own body and not be forced into that shit. That is insane to me that that's even a question of if we're going to allow incest rape babies. And now we are. That's one more step into allowing them. One more step into taking away the bodily autonomy of women. And I could talk about that all day, but let's keep going through the comments and then we'll end this. Yeah, very passionate about women's rights. Oh my gosh. You're the person who woke me up to all of this. So thankful. I'm so glad I could wake you up to all of it. I also feel terrible just being like, here's a bunch of war crimes and horrors against humanity. It's really hard for me to deal with and feels really shitty to impose on you guys sometimes, but also like I said, it feels like that's part of how we break the spell and lift the matrix veil on all of us is acknowledging, hey, for the past 100 or so years, this has been being done to us against our will without our consent. But now we realize what's happening. We're calling it out. We no longer consent to it. We know we take away your access to our free will, and we're not going to let you bother with any of that shit, you know? There's been a lot of people in my comments that always light my heart up so deeply that have said I wake them up to certain things, or like I've even had some MAGA people reach out and say like, "Holy shit, you changed my mind on like I see now illegal people are illegal and there's no such thing as an illegal person or illegal people on stolen land and stuff like that. We're all just people sharing a rock in space and the 1% profiting off of that and enslaving us are the only ones who get anything out of that division." That's a beautiful tattoo. Thank you. Which one? Do you mean my chest piece or my neck piece or my little heart eyes or these fun little ones I like to show off or these fun little ones I like to show off? I got a couple more too, but got a lot of really fun tattoos. I really like this one. I think this one and then into my chest piece is my favorite other than my little eye hearts and also obviously the. Honestly, all my tattoos are my favorite. They're all very intentional, but this one specifically I think is my favorite cuz this one was custom done for me. Shout out Justin at High Seas. You're a real G. You were super cool. But to me, it kind of looks like two ladies that are like posed against each other because I see like these are the boobies and then these are like their hips and then the like the sacred feminine and stuff like that merging into one and kind of coming all out together. And I also love the little hidden heart that he did right there because you can't see it when I'm just talking normally, but you can see it right there. And then it also goes up a little bit on both sides, kind of under my ears and like under my jaw. I absolutely love it. I told him I wanted something equally feminine and badass, and I think that this 1000% did that. And then this one was a completely different tattoo that was it was actually I think it was a Friday the 13th flash that was Has Been Hotel inspired by different characters. I don't remember which character this was inspired by, but he actually changed it a little bit and added like all of the little filigree and stuff to it so that it kind of filled this out a little bit more, and then it goes all the way down to right beneath my boobs, and I fucking love it. I want to be covered in so much ink, you guys. I just need more money. I just need more money. Let's see. We're reading documents that show they want to be taking away our right to everything at this point, unfortunately. Yep. But we're taking back our power in doing so. We're acknowledging the horrors. I've heard that recently hasn't been like that the whole time. Yeah. Facebook monetization, I mean. Yeah. I know. I'm still super surprised that Facebook is the first one to like actually pay me money in a meaningful way. I mean, I guess technically TikTok did a couple years ago. I think it was $20 because I was doing lives on there quite a bit, and I made a bunch of gifts doing it, but I also got banned in the middle of my TikTok lives, and then I got the profile banned and I never saw the money from it. So hopefully this will be the first time I'm actually seeing money other than my $200 of GoFundMe donations over the past 2 to 3 years, which is awesome. Awesome, and I'm super grateful for all of it, but also like that's not even a month worth of bills and like food and support. So it's great. I'm super grateful, but like I need more support to get through this and keep doing what I'm doing because this is my full-time job, reading all of this, and I love doing what I'm doing for a reason. But we're getting into it, and I love that all these platforms seem like they're snowballing together for me right now. We need a dedicated coven. Maybe I will start up there, or maybe I will link out that Discord for everyone, and maybe I'll make like a tab on the Discord where it's like witchy bitches with like a little sparkly heart or something, and that's where everyone gets to be. A YouTuber, what's your content? This is my content. Yeah, this is my content. Exactly like you said, Court Jester. My content is whatever the fuck it wants to be, but a lot of calling lettered agencies, reading CIA declassified documents, getting into all kinds of military psyops, all kinds of shit. All kinds of shit. The interconnectedness of everything, trying to piece together the truth of humanity's past, trying to hold these motherfuckers accountable for the pain they're inflicting in the future, or in the present, and then working together to build a sustainable future for all of us and not just the 1% at the top. Man, I've gotten that like really well worded the past couple years that I've been doing this. That's like I have like the 3 main goals, you know, at the base, where I also have like these 20 projects that I'm running at the same time. Kind of feel like we get suppressed in this timeline, but your work is important. And weirdly, I think stuff like this gets seeded to the real timeline, and this is a dead sacrificial branch timeline. Interesting. I think all of the timelines are alive in their own ways, and they serve very different purposes at very different times, because time isn't real either. And I gotta plug you guys in while I'm talking to you guys because you're dying. But it very much feels like all of these timelines are coming together for something all together, if that makes sense. Like they're, oh, hello, go back off. I don't know how to word it, but it really feels like all of it is working together for all of us, for the benefit of all of us. And that there's not just one good timeline, you know? Because I don't know if you guys have watched the channeled message that I did with automatic writing the other day after I did that cord cutting and binding ritual to my highest self. But I got 3 pages front and back of channeled message, and it talked about how the work I was doing was healing many timelines. Like it's repairing things, and I got the feeling that it's projecting past, present, and future because time isn't real. I think it's all like a Mobius strip of everything. And it seems like it's going and doing a lot of good behind the scenes beyond just even what I'm able to reach in the 3D right now. Okay, let's see. Oh my gosh, why does it keep making me lose my chat? You were, dude. Oh my God, the way you click things together so fluently and know exactly where to look. I'm so proud of you and your spirit. You're such a bright star. Oh, you guys are gonna make me cry or blush or both. I'm already blushing a little. It's actually insane because the more I have been doing this over the past couple years and just truly trusting and leaning into my intuition fully, it's been insane the way things are clicking together, and especially because you guys, like I said, haven't seen a lot of my archives from back when I first started doing this for the first year or 2 that I was only on TikTok. All of those videos are saved in my personal digital online archives that I have. And I've been working on like releasing parts of it, like some of those Operation Anthill Oracle calls and stuff that I've had. But it's been insane getting and like seeing or being redirected back to some of those things that I did back in like the very beginnings of all of this, and how weird it's connecting like perfectly to things that are going on right now, and just how my intuition is lining things up is actually phenomenal. Like I even had, it was almost exactly a month before the Pope died. I had a dream about the Vatican being at the root of everything. And then it was almost exactly a month after that the Vatican or the Pope passed, and we got the first American Pope elected, which totally isn't a sketchy psyop in any way, shape, or form. It's totally normal and totally just a coincidence that we tossed an American Pope in there finally. Totally not related. But it's really been crazy seeing how my intuition is piecing things together. That's why I say I know there's more working on the back ends with me. It's the algorithms are working in my favor. The technology is working in my favor. I'm working in my favor. My highest self is working in my favor behind the scenes. I also think I have a lot of energies and entities behind the scenes, especially the special bitch that little wind chime on my door is from, that y'all actually called out as moving in the video that I made with y'all, where I was saying if anything happens, I did not hurt or kill myself, I think. But y'all said that thing started moving the whole time I was talking, and I watched it, and it was swaying the entire video with all my windows and doors closed. It had no reason to be moving. But that chime is from the woman who basically was like a second mom to me and who is now passed away, and it just is super important to me. So just like it was very much a confirmation that she's there on the other side helping with all of this, because she's been a part of all of this behind the scenes. She even shortly before she passed, she talked about how there was, I don't remember what she called it. She called it like a net or something like that. I'm gonna let the cat in before she claws my door apart. But she talked about there literally being a net around the earth made up of kind of all of the, oh, hi, baby girl. All of the beings. Everyone say hi to Gabby and shame her for clawing my carpet. Also, you're welcome. You get to see the dogs for free. Oh, but she was talking about how there was a net around the earth of all of the people who had come and gone before, and they were helping basically protect it. Hey, do not claw my chair. Girl, I just let your butt in here. Do not start being a menace. My goodness. But yeah, I 1000% think she's helping out on the other side, and there's so many entities and energies and beings on the other side that we can't perceive yet. I can see auras, or at least my own aura, but it's really hard to see. And then, like I said, my brother can see entities and my mom can see auras and entities. I think there's so many people who could see so much more beyond the veils, too. Don't take too many spoons out. Get that rest bright start. Thank you. I will once I finish reading all y'all's comments, but I'm really having fun with this and just like a little bit of community engagement in the meantime as like a special little treat for you guys. Oh, hi, baby. If I ever see you IRL, I'm thanking you. I would love that. I am so surprised that I've hit so many people in so many states and countries and such a number of engagements, and I haven't met any of y'all IRL yet. I'm so surprised because I talk about it with you guys a lot, but like I don't have anyone who gets me in real life the same way you guys get me. So it's been causing, over the past 2 or 3 years I've been doing this, a lot of cognitive dissonance for me to keep doing this. Like y'all have no idea the amount of times I have quit or tried to give up, or like really just not wanted to continue doing this because I lost my entire friend group for doing all of this. I lost my ex-fiance. I lost another partner who ended up sucking. Like I have lost all of the deepest, closest connections, or almost all of the deepest, closest connections I've ever had and made in my entire life, including a friend from 4th grade. Yeah. I still can't believe I lost my D&D group over all of this stuff when I was showing up with literal documentation from like military websites and government websites, and we literally got together on a weekly basis to play D&D, a game about beating impossible odds and fighting together as a team against big evil bad guys doing crazy things with magic and all of this stuff that is unfathomable. Yet the second I tried to bring that into real life with receipts, suddenly I was the crazy girl. Suddenly I was the problem. So yeah, I would love to see more of you guys and start actually being able to talk about this stuff IRL, because I have so many more spoons for creating content and having like in-person conversations, and like 0 to maybe sometimes 1 spoons for engaging on all of my digital platforms, because at this point I don't know what's dead internet theory and what's not, and a lot of my comments are just weird or bots or strange or mean, so I try not to engage with that to bring down my vibe, just like I tried not to on the live today. The whole social media game in your hand. I love the way you talk, babe. Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. If you ever need mods or something, I'm sure people would help you mod. I genuinely don't know how that works. And I'm also really, again, anxious to do that because I'm scared of letting bots in or people that want to masquerade as one thing and then end up sucking and being a completely different thing. I'm really scared to hand literally anybody else keys in my kingdom in any part because I don't know that I can trust them, especially until I've met them physically or something like that. Like, I want to be able to build my trust up and trust my collective completely, but I've seen so many times, had so many weird threats, had so many weird interactions where I'm like, I don't know how to tell if people are genuine over the internet. Maybe that's just the ADHD talking, but like, I don't know how to know who I can trust as a mod and who's just going to start deleting Discord comments or deleting TikTok comments or deleting important things or hiding things from all of us and stuff like that. And it really makes me hesitant to do that. I would love to be on Discord. Okay, okay. Maybe I will share that. Keep an eye out on all of my different platforms and stuff like that. Because like I said, I try to cross post everything, but sometimes I do things on one platform and not any of the others and vice versa. But keep an eye out for the Discord. Keep an eye out for the Discord because I also miss the Discord too. I'd 100% help mod, though of course you got to be careful who you let mod, no matter who it is. Well, thank you. I really appreciate that. I think I've actually had like a handful of people who have wanted to mod over the times. Let's see. Discord is for sure a honeypot, but it is easy to share stuff. I have videos that connect some dots using different branches of the same pattern. Ooh, okay. I love that. I love to hear that. That's really cool. So I think we will get the Discord up and running back again, or like connect you guys up to it. Body open. I am gonna assume that's another weird bot. Everything is magic. That's so lovely. Yeah. And once you start seeing the world like that, it's really, I don't know, different. But also, like I said, cognitive dissonance, because it's like part of me is like 5D magic, global awakening, everything is beauty and joy and happiness and goodness. And then part of me is like 3D slop. Everything is AI, dead internet theory, surveillance state everywhere. They've been poisoning our water and food and nothing is safe and all I can taste is the chemicals and all of it. It's really hard to balance all of that. So I try to go more Delulu is the Salulu, and sometimes it sounds a little crazy, but also at this point I don't care because the alternative is be anxious and depressed by default, and I hate that. I don't want that to be my baseline. I'd rather be a little Delulu. I think our timeline branched from the main timeline. Ours is speeding up and seeds stuff to the real timeline. They're from our ancient future. Oh, like the P42s or P52s and P47s and stuff? That's interesting. They're definitely speeding up our time and stuff like that too, though. Because I don't know if y'all have seen, I think I reblogged a video about it on one of my platforms about how, what was it? It was like people's atomic clocks, which are the ones that like keep time with the Earth herself, are doing funky stuff now. Like they're not right. They're being funky. They're going off. They're doing all these crazy things, or vice versa. Yeah, there's some crazy stuff happening. The earthquake in Israel is coming. I don't know anything about that, but I do know that there was a bunch of earthquakes over by Area 51 recently, and I very much think it has to do with, I think they're destroying a bunch of files in the deep underground military bases right now because they realize that the patriarchy is the snake eating its own tail, and they realize that their days are numbered, and they realize that people are gonna start wanting to find out what they're doing down there, and so instead of letting us find out, I think they're just exploding them all, and that's what's causing the earthquakes. Have you heard of the rainbow body? I want to know about MKUltra. Is that forcing a program on powers of the third eye? There's a lot to know about MKUltra. I haven't delved deep enough into that one yet, and I don't know of the rainbow body, but that really makes me think of the CIA's analysis and assessment of the gateway process. And there's another one that I want to read on a different live with you guys, where I think it's the gateway workbook, where it talks about visualizing your body in a bunch of different rainbow states and stuff like that. What do you know about the codes? Is that real? I feel like we wouldn't get actually helpful info. I've tried the 55515 for pain and that's worked for me. But I think it's up to everyone's discretion. Use it at your own discretion. It's I really don't know if it's helpful, useful, correct information, or if it is in of itself a misinformation psyop of some sort where they're feeding us all of this stuff as leaks and declassified logs and stuff so that we'll use it and so that it will do things that they want it to do. I don't know. Because I do think about stuff like that with all the work that I've done. It's like constantly in my background, or the background of my brain is like, oh, is this a psyop? Is this also somehow a psyop? Is this somehow a double-ended psyop and I'm being psyoped into a psyop and I don't realize it's a psyop? I don't really know. Brazilian coast, Sao Paulo. San Pablo, San Pablo. Hello, Brazilian coast. Hello, hello. That's a new one. I get to add Brazil to my list now. Hello. I don't think I have that country on there, do I? No, wait, I do. I already have Brazil on there, JK. Brazil's already on there. So yeah, there's fellow Brazilians in my comments. Hello, hello. Like I said, also a lot of Australians. I've had 10 chemtrails over my house while editing a video. They're trying to screw with your temporal lobe, but I have so much brain damage it gives me a migraine, but can't fully hive mind me. They trying though. I'm so sorry that they're fucking with you and spraying chemtrails. I've made so many videos on those. The chemtrails and then the scalar interference they throw through the chemtrails as well, where it makes it look like lines in the sky. I am so tired of all of it. It's been really hard for me to go out lately for the past like week while I've been documenting with y'all all of the days where I go outside and it's just a solid gray fog that smells like farts sometimes. I was calling it the fear fart fog because it was also giving me feelings of anxiety that weren't mine, that go along with all the stuff we've been reading about. But I think the more we talk about it and the more we acknowledge it, the less power it has over us. Also, another thing I was thinking about the other day, they're going to run out of their funding at some point. They're cutting off access to all of these government agencies and all of these things. Like, at some point, they are going to run out of funding to be spraying us with these chemicals. These pilots are going to get tired of poisoning humanity. Their planes are going to break down, like, yada, 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 and they're not going to be able to buy new ones because they don't have the budget for it or whatever. Like, it is slowly losing its grip, and we all keep seeing it. They're sliding down there. Their fingers are popping off into Tartarus. How pretty. Thank you. Fascinating. So we should. What's up? They couldn't handle my dreams. Oh, what'd you do with your dreams? Was it more dreams about interacting with other people? What would they do with the dreams? I could see them put advertisements in our dreams like in Futurama. Ugh. Don't you put that evil in my dreams. If I start seeing fucking ads pop up, I'm never sleeping again. I'm gonna give myself insomnia and go crazy. I do not want to have ads in my dreams. I'm gonna scream. MKUltra talks about our dreams being influenced. They will start putting ads in our dreams. I don't. Ads in my dreams. I hate MKUltra and all these men. I don't want ads in my dreams. Jane gets it. Yeah, Jane does. I remember that movie. It was Scrappy-Doo the whole time. Yeah! It was Scrappy-Doo from inside. Wasn't it like Mr. Bean's body where he was like in his chest? I made a video the other day too. I don't remember if I cross-posted it or if it's just on my TikTok, but I literally made a video where I said it looks like Elon Musk has Scrappy-Doo inside his chest and he's just waiting to pop out and piss on everyone like he did in that movie. I can't unsee it since I saw it. I used to have almost only lucid dreams, and now I almost never have dreams anymore at all. And when I do, they are lucid, but it's like 3 dreams total in like 2 years. Ooh, I've never had lucid dreaming, but I used to have really bad night terrors and nightmares as a kid, and I still sometimes have nightmares as an adult. But more than usual, I don't remember my dreams. I go to sleep, I feel almost like I'm training or preparing for something or testing for something or carrying out missions or doing some like insane shit in my dreams, and I wake up sweaty, I wake up out of breath, I wake up discombobulated, I wake up not remembering what happened at all in them, but feeling like super exhausted. Like I feel like I ran a marathon while I was sleeping or something almost. And then I've also been having really vivid dreams, and I've shared a lot of them with you guys lately, but it's a lot of different dreams of different types of disclosure. Like portals popping out of the sky, ships zooming through, all kinds of crazy stuff, and it's like centered on alien forms and disclosure and ships and stuff like that. And I don't know what to do about that. I don't know if that's an implement in my brain or implant in my brain, or if that's like part of disclosure trying to like soft launch itself to some of us, because I've also been in a lot of different subreddits like r/dreams and like NHI and stuff like that, and like all of the ones about dreams and aliens and stuff like that. And a lot of other people are talking about also having encounters about disclosure and stuff like that now, and weird dreams like that. Dream demons are CIA suits trying to trick you, bruh. Confirmed. Yeah, all the movies were real. So we shouldn't listen to the Gateway tapes for a long time. I don't know. I haven't listened to any of the Gateway tapes actually. I bought something different a while ago by a creator called Septisync, and I started listening to a couple of those. I don't even think I made it through the first one fully though, and I fell asleep. I keep not being able to focus. I just fall asleep. It just knocks my consciousness out. But I was also smoking and drinking quite a bit at the time, and I've gone fully sober now, so I really want to see how the difference is going to be if I try to do the Septisync or even maybe the Gateway tapes. Part of me is also kind of worried to do the Gateway tapes because it goes back to one of y'all commenting about how it feels like a misinformation or a psyop or something where they're trying to like feed us bad info. So part of me is like, do I really want to listen to the Gateway tapes, or is that part of how they infect our brains with some crazy shit and like make us sleeper agents and then make us forget they made us sleeper agents? I don't know. I don't know. So it's another one of those proceed at your own caution. All of this, that's why I'm always telling y'all question everything, proceed at your own caution, use your own brains, look things up. Question me. I'm just a random white girl on the internet in the bejeweled Bible Belt of the South. I don't know everything. I don't know most things, but I know a lot of weird connections. And I was a gate kid and the child of a military defense contractor who's worked for a bunch of weird guys. There's a lot more out there than we know. Also, my eyes are really bad in my dreams, though. I need glasses in them. Interesting. Interesting. Maybe that makes me wonder if you can see auras or energies or entities, because I have a theory, like a running theory, that people who have bad eyes in the 3D, it's because your eyes are meant to perceive outside of the 3D. You're meant to perceive energies, entities, auras, 4D, 5D, 12D, however many Ds, it's like it's supposed to be something of that. It cuts off sadly. Oh, I love the sapphic tattoo. Me too! Isn't it so cute? Oh yeah, one of the ultimate rabbit holes. Microplastics cause the same type of brain inflammation that all parasites use against a host, identical, using the same protein and mechanism of action. Well, now the microplastic angle makes a lot more sense. I fucking hate that. I hate microplastics so bad. It's like microplastics, all of the hygiene things that they push on us are full of basically like embalming agents and carcinogens and endocrine and hormone disruptors. All of the clothing and fast fashion, especially the parts of all of this that they push on feminine leaning people and women's bodies. It's like I made a video about it with you guys the other day when I went to the thrift to go find these linen pieces. 99% of what's in the men's section is linen and silk and cotton, 100%, or at least 90% or so. Whereas if you go to the women's section, almost all of it is Shein, fast fashion shit that's made out of microplastics and big oil stuff where it's polyester, it's rayon, it's, if you're lucky, you get like 55% linen and then 45% rayon and polyester and spandex, where it's not good. That's trash. That's greenwash trash that's still full of microplastics. And it's really bad because it's in most of our workout clothes, where it's most able to easily get into our bloodstreams and our pores when we're sweating it out, and all of those pores are open and the microplastics are just leaching, and all of those forever chemicals and the lead and the carcinogens that are in all of these things are just leaching into our bodies. The same with was it yoga mats? That's another one that I read the other day and I was able to find at the thrift store, a natural fiber yoga mat. Because if you use a yoga mat, congrats, it's off gassing in your face pretty much 24/7. And if you're like me and you enjoy a good little hot yoga class, it's off gassing the worst in there. Where you're supposed to be doing the deepest healing and letting go of the most trauma, it's doing the most horrible things and traumatizing your poor little body and your endocrine disruptors. Like, it literally should not be legal. It's insane. I stand with you and feel the same. Awesome tattoos. Thank you. Is the McGriddle the best breakfast sandwich from the big three? I have no idea. I could not even tell you the last time I ate at McDonald's. I'm not gonna eat people. I can't eat meat most of the time anyways. It grosses me out, especially stuff like McDonald's. All those bottom of the barrels.
You may have already talked about this already, but do you think everyone's minds are shifting towards matriarchy and that's why all this is happening besides the year of Aquarius? Yeah, 1,000%. 1,000%. I think that that's what's happening. I think that it's the collective awakening, because I also read that in the CIA's analysis and assessment of the gateway process that I did with y'all on another live, where it talked about all of us are the same interconnected collective consciousness that returns to the absolute when we die, and we retain our own unique consciousness and all of our thoughts, all of our experiences and everything. And we don't ever actually die either. We just continue existing in different forms. I 1,000% think that's why. I think it's also the patriarchy is, as it's eating its own tail, it's helping spur on the rise of the matriarchy, because it's waking up all kinds of people across all kinds of genres and cultures and classes and communities of people. It's like everyone realizes, oh, all of this sucks. This isn't better for me or you. It just sucks for all of us. I just farted in your general direction. Thank you, dark evil fart knocker. Hats off. Salutations to your butthole. I hope there was no wetness to that for your sake. Aw, Gabby, they said hi to you. Little claw trickster, genuinely. She's a goblin. She's a crazy lady. She's an inside outside cat, spoiled brat. I love you. Mwah. I love you, goblin. If we meet IRL, can we start the girls' coven? Never quit, space girl. We're all just in a coven. Sorry, all of us witchy bitches. We're just in a coven by default now. That's just how it is. Like I said, I'll work on getting the Discord back together. I need to get that back up and running and figure out how to best do that moving forward to keep bots out of there. But I really think we should start that witchy bitches little tag whatever in there. We are so thankful for what you have been doing. That sucks. Thank you. I know it does. I know it does. And that's exactly why I do it, because it helps all of us. I will D&D and DM for you, dude. That sucks to lose your party. Much love. You have no idea how bad it sucked to lose my party, because part of that party was my friend from 4th grade. That shit broke my heart. That was literally the person I've been in longest contact with other than my immediate family. And even them I haven't been in close contact with because I don't talk to most of my family now. But like losing my D&D group while talking about things that D&D groups like ours would fight against just broke a little part of me. But it also lit a fire under my ass and is 1,000% why I got so heavily into all of this, because I was like, how do you not see this? Like, how are you seeing me provide you the proof and the paper trails and the CIA.gov website links and the FOIA log requests that I was also making, and you don't think I'm onto something? Like, how can you think Ragnarok the Cursed or whatever the fuck, and his whole backstory is totally valid, that's actually made up and fictional, but when I'm handing you real life paper trails, suddenly I'm crazy and you would just rather be comfortable and complacent to the systems crushing your neck and doing all of these weird psyops on you? Like, oh, I've never actually finished a D&D campaign because I've had problems in all of the groups I've tried to start in. And has never come to fruition. I just want like a nice little one shot, just like a nice little something. I have like 20 freaking characters I've made at this point, and I really, really loved the last one I made. Her name was Moonstone. It was a Steven Universe spin-off, which was really out of my wheelhouse. I loved Steven Universe, but like pretending to do something like that was very out of my wheelhouse. But I fucking loved it, and it broke my heart, bro. Shit broke my heart. D&D is so good. I know. I've been playing it for probably over a decade now. I still don't really know what the fuck I'm doing. I just love the improv and magic and crazy shit of all of it. But I fucking love D&D. I mean, I wear my little elf ears all the time. I love being a goofy little nerdy goober. You're close, but you realize there is a net that traps us from breaking free from the demiurge. We get reincarnated while they feed on our. We get reincarnated back while they feed on our energy. You know, funny thing you say that about the demiurge, because I also just there's like a group of people on Reddit that were talking about something happened recently, and it was while the Schumann was doing all this crazy stuff, weird throat chakra blockage there, that I've been sharing with you guys. The Schumann's kind of stopped doing the weirdness that it's doing, but it was doing a lot of weird stuff, and when it was at the peak of all that, those people were saying something happened in the one of the dimensions or the astral realm or something, and they said something about the demiurge was slaughtered or slain or taken down or deactivated or something, and that's why all of this disclosure is coming up and why everyone's waking up en masse now, is because it's literally like the veil and part of the enforcing systems that were there at the top keeping us in all of these loops. Something happened to distort and manipulate them back and like crack their facade and make it to where they don't have any more power anymore. And I don't know what to make of that, but it fits really well with all of my research and the patterns that I'm seeing. I believe it. With the Schumann resonance and all the weird woo-woo experiences I've had, that's not that crazy to me. When I'm reading weird declassified CIA documents about how we never really die and the government knows it, nothing seems weird to me at this point. I love talking about astral projection and remote viewing and chakras. I'll get the cheesecake. I would love that. There was someone in, I think, my Instagram comments at one point who said something about whenever I was gonna do like a round table. I think it was one of my lives I was talking about. They thought I was talking about actually having like an in-person round table with you guys. I would love nothing more than that. To get all of our big, beautiful brains in one little space with little snacks and little drinks and all of our little devices so we can go look things up. I would be so freaking happy. I would love nothing more than to have a little commune or a little office space where we can have like just whoever the fuck wants to be involved in it. Because I have no money to start a team for realsies right now or like actually hire anyone, but I would love nothing more than to have a team that works with me where we just all get to talk about this stuff and question this stuff and read these government psyops and talk about and discuss all of this together and put all of our information together. Like when I started all of this stuff, at the start, I think it was 2 or 3 years ago now, I literally had a set of poster boards. It was like 3 or 4 poster boards and a bunch of printouts that was I called it my wall of proof. And it had things like star forts, Superfund sites, some of my FFTs that I had made at reading the energy of the star forts and some weird cloud formations and the sun and the moon and the oldest piece of earth and like seeing all the patterns and all of this and naming all of like the families in charge of things and the Rockefellers and stuff like that. And I miss that so bad, but it's so impractical to make another one. I actually have all of the papers that were in that are in this. I made 2 of them at the time when I printed everything, and this is extras of everything. Like, let me just pull out a random. Like I was studying shit like this, like Petra and Gobekli Tepe, and just all of the things that didn't make sense. The Berlin Wall was a fucking star fort, bitch. No wonder why they had to make the weird war narrative and have Nazis come in and fuck everything up, because it was a star fort, just like Fort Monroe, where they brought the slaves. They found the slaves, the people that built all of these old Tartarian old world structures here, and they just took them to a certain place and said, oh, we're going to give it military industrial complex control and just let it run wild, and we'll say these are savages and brown people that are lesser than, and give them a whole social stigma so that nobody ever knows the truth that they were the ones who built these buildings that we occupied and turned into state capitals and colleges and banks and all that shit now. Oh, but yeah, that could be a whole nother live where I talk to y'all about all that, because oh my god, I miss that wall so bad. I miss it, I miss it, I miss it, I miss it, and I would love nothing more than to be able to afford to like make this everyone's full-time job to just yap about all this stuff and put these puzzle pieces together, because like I said, I have millions of y'all in my collective at this point all across the world. There are so many other people who get it, who see it, who have super valuable information from all different angles and all different walks of life, all different things that they have to add in. So many people with like backdoor access to these programs and stuff like that. So many whistleblowers, so many people sharing experiences. Like it's insane. I would love to have something like that in the future. So keeping track with me, because ideally the universe is going to supply something like that, because me having a desire to have it means that I already have it in another timeline, is what I am thoroughly convinced of at this point. And I think that's the same with all of us. If you have a desire, it's because there's a version of you and a timeline of you that has it, and you're just feeling the energy from that. And if you want it bad enough and you follow your intuition good enough and you honor your feelings and your emotions and the things you're being called to do, you will get it. Some way, shape, or form, it will happen. Probably in the way you least expect. Because that's been exactly how this has been going the entire time for me. So yeah, if we can start a round table, if y'all want to like help crowdfund that, donate more to my GoFundMe, I'm trying to fix my teeth and get my shit together and like pay for my storage and keep doing what I'm doing with my research. Because like I said, I've only made like $200 off of it over the past couple years at this point. But I would love to add more people to this and have it be more than just yapping on Discord. I want us to like physically be in a room to be able to like hug and cry with each other and talk about all this crazy shit and like process it somatically and shake it out of our bodies together and stuff like that. Because it feels not the same doing it through a screen. But I am super grateful I get to do it through a screen. You just said lines in the sky. I was wondering why it looked like that after the plane went over my house. Not the chemtrail, but the clouds afterwards that were forming. Yeah. Go right now on Google and look up CIA scalar interference and scroll until you can read through it if you want, or you can wait until I redo the live where I read through it. It took me 4.5 hours last time. But it literally shows some of the diagrams where it shows they have it where it's either a tool or like a machine that's on the ground that beams up energy into the clouds, or it also showed that they can put this machine on the plane wings and have it disperse this from plane wings. So, yeah, military people and other private contractors that are doing this shit and sowing this shit in our skies, I hate all of you, and I'm going to continue to call you out and tell you how much I hate you. Because yeah, they've been doing this shit since at least the 1920s or 30s, I think it said in there. It mentioned global weather modification since at least the 1920s and 30s too. It's a recursive pyramid scheme psyop run by a parasite that's gaslit itself and others into thinking it's a demon. And the parasite is gaslit and in a psyop run by something above it, etc., etc. Interesting. I have a theory that it's love at the base of all of it either way though. I don't know how to like connect it, but I had a very interesting conversation with my best friend and his boyfriend at a bar once, like a year ago at this point, where it was like everything that's happening is for love, even the bad. It's to get us to wake up and question things and be so unsatisfied with the evil that is happening that we turn into the ultimate forms of love. And I really liked hearing that. That just something about that resonated with me really deeply. And maybe it will with y'all as well. You can avoid dreaming and still sleep. Interesting. I get night terrors. That's why I avoid dreaming. How do you avoid dreaming and still sleep? It's like I want to dream because I feel like I'm meant to be doing things in the astral almost or whatever. I don't know. Well, how about Scrappy Doo? Like horizontal lines from the trail, where the trail was? Yeah. Wait, bestie, sorry this is about the dream topic. I've had dreams of being in a spaceship hanging above an Earth-like planet named Terra. Terra something. Don't ever apologize for putting it out there, because if I don't see it, someone else does who was meant to see it and who like that clicks with them. I've seen a lot of that in my comments where like I won't get to something, but y'all will say something and someone else will chime in, and then it's like 40 comments deep where you guys are like, "Wait, you too?" There's no such thing as coincidence. If you feel called to share it, honor that feeling in your intuition. That's crazy though. Were you doing anything in that spaceship? Because that's absolutely insane. It was so real. Feels like I got a clone out there above planet. If my clone is real, I hope she's okay. I love her. LOL. I don't think it was a clone. I think it was a version of you in a different timeline. Maybe that was your ship. Maybe that was your home planet. I think that's just you on a different loop of that flower of life interconnected loop of loops. Noted. Yoga with better products. Yep. Everything is meant to poison you, especially when you're trying most to heal yourself, unfortunately. Matriarchy now. I'm a cribe chat. Oh, much love. Our campaign would rock. I know it would. Maybe we should start one. Maybe we should do that as part of the Discord so that I actually can like go in there and do things with you from time to time. Maybe we just start a massive D&D one shot or something, or like a running campaign. But also, I don't know, that would be something I have to do in person because I love yapping, and every time I've ever done a D&D session, it's like all of us are like there's so much connection and so much energy and so many people trying to talk and so many ideas coming out that I don't know if it would translate online in the same way with everyone having like buffering speeds and connection issues and like voice layering and vocal fries and like background noise and stuff like that. I'm not sure. Maybe we find a way to do this IRL where we can all meet up and like do like a yearly one shot or something fun where it's like all of us get together and not have a bad end. Yeah. That'd be so nice. That'd be so nice. That'd be so nice. Oh, I have had the first D&D campaign that I ran with in the group of people before the shitty D&D group that I left behind with all of this. We ended ours with a TPK because one of the players was trying to god mode constantly, and it ended up getting us all wiped out, and that sucked. I put so much time and effort into that character, and I loved it. Ugh. Some of those crazy intuitive comments you're reading aren't showing up in my end of the live chat, and it's wigging me out. What? That's weird. Maybe you guys will get to see it whenever I post the full live and it shows like the comments coming in as they're live. That's really strange. I don't know why it would show me and not you guys. I would think if anything, it would be showing you guys and not me. And that makes me wonder if there's more comments that are being hidden from my eyeballs. If the demiurge of reality is gone, we can call the monad now. The monad is the mother. She is awakening the matriarchy. That also sounds very on point with everything, and that's also I need to go on another live with y'all and read this. There's a PDF called the Alien Races book, which I think is like 200 pages or so, and it was talking about the mother of everything across all time, space, and dimensions and stuff is Artemis, aka Diana, aka like the Greek goddess Artemis. But she's different than that, and she is in a lot of forms, and she's been recognized throughout like all of time, and just a lot of really crazy stuff about the matriarchy. I really want to read that with y'all because some people try to say it's complete bullshit, but then it's allegedly got like really interesting information and like it connects really weird. And it also had a mention in there that I made a video about with you guys about something by the Vatican in Rome. It was like something about like 2 miles away in a pink house is where they keep it. It's a house that's always for rent, but no one ever rents it. It was like a really weird, like Dan Brown type puzzle or riddle or some shit. I need to read that again. I need to read that on live with you guys because that's throwing me back to it, and I feel like it's for a reason because I don't think that's a coincidence. I don't think it's a coincidence, and I don't think that document was wrong. Being on the team sounds awesome. I would love to have each of y'all on the team. If I could just like all across all time space, all my platforms, all my profiles. Ugh. I've lost so many people in comments and DMs and banned profiles and things like that, or just not being able to keep up with the sheer volume of it. I wish I could just have like all of y'all, all millions of y'all in the same room and we just can all talk together. The high vibe society. I love that. 622 is she brought up the old documents she wants to bring up. Girl, the universe is calling you. Interesting. Okay. 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 I've been seeing an insane amount of synchronicities lately. I mean, honestly, since I started this journey, but the more I trust them and lean into them, the more I'm seeing them show up. And I share them a lot with you guys in my videos. That's why I'll do that whole like 121 as I say that or whatever, or like 222 there. And I'll call them out. And then you can go and look them up. And a lot of the times it refers to things I was talking about or just like the general path that I'm on. But it's really insane. There's no such thing as coincidence at this point in my journey. I have been convinced of that pretty much since I started this journey, where it just everything is on purpose and it's leading your intuition and all of you and your energy onto your highest path. Like something, that's why I keep saying something, the algorithm, the energies, the entities, whatever it is, it's working with me behind the scenes. That's part of why I'm not scared and I keep doing this, even if I am a little bit, because I know that I'm protected and I know if I weren't, I would already be by the CIA, baby. I'd be one of those missing scientists by now. Hell yeah. I want that so badly. Need a physical space to share with like-minded people to grow and grieve and heal and grow. Oh my god, I know you have no idea. Genuinely, you guys, genuinely you have no idea. That is like my number one. Like I want to build a website, but like even more than that, I would love to be having these conversations physically or even like I've been seeing myself for a few years now. I'm getting like flashes of, I think, future events that I'm at where I'm speaking on stages, where I'm like giving TED Talks, where I'm in like boardroom meetings, where I'm at like government facilities and stuff like that, talking to these people about these psyops and about the interconnectedness of all of it, and talking to whistleblowers and having like Senate hearing meetings and stuff like that. Like I've been seeing little glimpses of this. And it used to freak me out, but now it's just kind of cool and feels like validation where it's like, yeah, it's just a matter of time until you're on a stage. It's just a matter of time. You've already been speaking to millions of people. You've already gone global. There's literally nothing keeping you from that other than you just can't afford to travel right now. But even that, I had a crazy synchronicity the other day. I've seen twice now within the past like 2 weeks, if that. So I think it's the universe telling me something's about to happen very quickly. But it was a bus called Worldwide Charters, where it was like guided tours, and it had a big old 222 on the back. And I looked it up, and I think it was all about like abundance and like financial support and traveling and following your highest good and stuff like that. And it was really, really crazy seeing that at the time as I was thinking about all this. Because I keep getting the feeling that like that's why I haven't been able to like afford to travel yet, or why I don't have to worry about all the stupid like human documents and like visa processes and stuff like that. It feels like the universe is literally conspiring in the background to give me like a super safe, super protected guided tour, worldwide global stage of something more than just me yapping on a screen where I'm like, I don't even want to say I have a manager because I hate the idea of that, but it's like I get connected to resources that in some way make it to where I can go from being just a girl behind a screen to talking to these communities, to talking to these people, to going out on tour, but not for fame, not for money, not for fortune, just to spread awareness, to help raise the collective vibration and wake people up. Because at the end of the day, I'm not doing this for money or fortune or fame or popularity. I'm doing it to be of service. Like I at the very beginning of this whole thing, I made peace with the fact that I might lose my life. I might lose everything I love, and I have lost a lot of what I love to do this. Like I live at my mom's, I have no job, I have no money, but the universe keeps supporting me and providing for me and giving me abundance and teaching me how to generate my own abundance in ways that aren't just the American petrodollar as it's actively crashing because of the stupid person in charge. Um, but like I think we're rapidly moving towards just a global matriarchy where we don't have to worry about money scarcity and fear and lack and travel anxiety and paperwork and stupid bureaucratic legalese and things like that keeping us from just being humans. Because I've talked about that with you guys before. I think it's so ridiculous that humanity works this way, where we have visas and border patrols and things like that. Birds and bees don't have passports. Dung beetles don't get a visa stamp before they cross a border. They're just rolling their shit downhill. Like we are the only species that pays to travel. That puts all of these things behind paywalls and subscriptions, and you can go here but only if you have this amount of a paper currency and these amount of jingly shiny rocks. It's all so dumb. Okay, let me finish. My throat is starting to get raw. I'm gonna go a little faster through these comments. I'm sorry. I keep making so many asides, but I also love the asides, and you guys seem to too. And I love it. No one around me is like-minded. And that's so upsetting. I see that so much with people. Oh my God. It's like we get it digitally, but when it comes to being in person, it's almost like people are still asleep around me and I don't know why. And it's so frustrating and causing like massive cognitive dissonance at times for me. And that's why I have to step back and just like take days off sometimes with all of this, because I'm like, how is it that I've gone viral and global and I have millions of people agreeing with me, but I can't have a conversation about it with anybody I know in real life and actually start talking about this? None of them actually understand why I'm upset or any of the stuff I try to talk about. They just look at me like I have five heads. And it's so frustrating and I don't get it. But I think it's because people like us are being again guided by entities and energies and algorithms and things like that to wake up in a certain way so that we can kind of be like the leaders of the awakening is what I'm getting, like shepherding it in. Microplastics have xenoestrogens, fake estrogens. Oh, all organisms have a protein that controls brain inflammation that uses estrogen binding sites. Microplastics are functionally parasites. So they're artificial parasites. Huh. Because it wasn't enough for them to overlay a false grid over top the real 5D grid of the matriarchy and the planet and her people. They overlaid the fake grid with the 5D and the 3G and all of the Gwen towers that totally are Gwen towers and not 5G towers. You don't get any better reception when there's 50 of them around the shopping mall you're at. They're fucking with our frequency. And then all the fake trees, all of the scalar interference, all of the weird nanoparticles in the sprays that they spray over us in this fog shit. That's so frustrating. Like they're trying to create false artificial versions of everything to mimic the real that is there underneath it all. The monad is love. I love that. That's so cute. I've never heard of psyops. What can you tell me about them? Kind of what happens? What are they? That's a whole rabbit hole. I cannot just tell you about what those are. I recommend Googling, my friend. It is military psychological operations where they are doing anything and everything. One of them, they were weaponizing mosquitoes. One of them, they sprayed a bunch of fog and chemicals over a bunch of the United States to see what would happen and how aerosols would disperse so they could continue to poison us, aka the predecessor to the chemtrails that we see in the sky every day now. There's a lot. There's I don't think it's actively on any of my profiles right now, but I'll see if I can find it and re-upload it across all of this for you guys. But I made an audio a really long time ago when I first started all of this years ago. It was a picture of like a little Lisa Frank visual. I think it was like a little cat with angel wings or something because I fucking love Lisa Frank. I was a big Lisa Frank girly. And then I recorded an audio over top of it that it was just listing off like 3 minutes of psyop names where it was like MKULTRA. I don't even remember half of them, but like it was like a psyops for starters kind of list. And then I also did start a different series. Like I said, I'm running like 20 or 30 projects in the background. A different series called Psyops for Starters, where I kind of did start delving into some of the psyops like Operation Sea Spray, Operation Lack, Operation whatever the one was where they weaponized the mosquitoes against us that I can't remember the name of. But I have spoken about a little bit of these and gotten into a few of them in detail along with the lives I'm doing like this, or like the live I did with you guys about Project Artichoke, or the live I did with you guys about the CIA's analysis and assessment of the gateway process. Although I guess that's a declassified document and not a psyop. But there's a lot of psyops. If you're curious, highly recommend either listening to that audio once I post it and starting to look into those projects, or just Google psyops and start reading because there's thousands of them, if not more, probably. It's just the government and lettered agencies having access to a lot of money to do really weird war crimes, and a lot of them are studying how to distort and manipulate energy and frequency because they're weaponizing our bodies and our brains against us. I want to teach yoga and chakra balancing and then chat with our group about it. Ooh, I like that. That'd be really fun. We could really use some healing practitioners and stuff like that too, because I know all this stuff fucks with our energy and our frequency, and I've been having to make sure I focus on grounding a lot after I do all of this so that I make sure I'm not intaking all of this dark energy that I'm reading and just like letting it stagnate in my vessel. The name of the planet you said sounds familiar. Anyone know where it's from? Ooh, I wouldn't be surprised if it's like in an old sci-fi book or something. Truth in media, I'm telling y'all. Every book, every TV show, every movie, all the music, it's all telling us truths and parts of the truth in different bits and pieces. It's just up to us to put it all together and remember it. I was in a porthole like window. I saw myself. I was me but different. Oh, that's fascinating. I agree with your flower of life interpretation. I can't wait to see it all from the right angle. Me neither. It's been fascinating putting this all together and seeing how it's coming together and how it's going to keep coming together. Links for that. I work with Greek deities, not Artemis specifically, but I want to dig into it. I think if you just Google Alien Races book, you should be able to see the PDF. I found it some super convoluted way, again, intuition led, where I was on one of the random subreddits that I follow and someone mentioned it and then someone else linked the PDF to it, and that's how I read it. I think I might have also downloaded it into my Google Drive, and if that's the case, I'll try to see if I can somehow link it for y'all, but I need a website. I don't know how to make a website and I don't have money for one, but I need a website so I can just throw all this on there for y'all to go look at. Reminds me of a video someone made of a food thing and it was linked from one ancient society to Roman to Greek or something like that of one female god. Interesting. That's also making me think, isn't that like all over the Epstein files and all of the weird stuff people do at like the Met Gala and stuff like that too? Like all of these celebrity and 1% events where they're like super into Greek and Roman stuff. That's interesting. Have any of you been burning bay leaves like a lot? I've burned bay leaves in the past, but not lately. I should probably burn a couple. I've been burning Palo Santo though. I have a couple sticks of that. They can't get us because it ruins a ritual if they off us at this point. Watch a movie called Cabin in the Woods. We can't be offed yet because their ritual fails they need. Interesting. Huh. I like that. Never thought about burning bay leaves. It's for all kinds of stuff. I would Google that, get into the witchy roots of all that. There's so many different things, all the different herbs and things like that do. Salt's always a good one. Salt and black pepper are a very good fallback for a lot of things. I used to be a Hellenistic witch in my early college days. I actually, funny enough, worshipped Artemis. She was my main goddess, and I also worshipped Aphrodite a little bit as well. And then my best friend worshipped Apollo. So seeing that specific Artemis call out in that Alien Races PDF made me go, huh? 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 You're telling me I was called to the goddess that's allegedly at the root of all of everything ever? What? Hello? Which also gives big Chris Bledsoe Lady in White vibes. If y'all read that PDF or listen to me read it on live whenever I get to that. Really, really crazy shit. I feel a solar punk matriarchal vibe for the future. 1,000%. That's literally what it has to become because anything else isn't sustainable. We've already seen the patriarchy's not sustainable. They've had control of this bitch for a while, and all they've done is violence and aggression and absolutely destroy our economy and make women not want to have babies anymore. They've put us all into like perpetual survival state, fight or flight. It's got to be a matriarchy, and it's got to be solar punk because that just makes sense. If you're a matriarchy, you care about the planet too, and you're doing everything you can. So why would you not harness the sun's natural energy to produce more energy than we could actually do anything with? Like, is there for free? I was just about to type that. Literally, you guys are so connected. We are an interconnected hive mind, according to that the CIA's analysis and assessment of the gateway process. Like, the more we talk about it and the more we acknowledge it and the more we have communities like this, I've been seeing stuff like this all the time where you guys will have the same thought as me or as each other and you acknowledge it and it's like kind of freaky but really cool, mostly cool. Cost of living, it's a joke, an evil joke. Yeah. Yep, they're just saying you're too poor and you deserve to die is what I'm saying and it's upsetting or what I'm seeing and it's upsetting as fuck. I hate all the 1%. We're on the same wavelength. Yeah, because it's all energy and frequency. So you're literally on the same wave, like brainwave length. Like that flower of life. You're just resonating all together to build the same beautiful picture. Not seeing the microplastic stuff as anyone else. Oh, like none of the comments I've been seeing. What? None of them are coming up for you? I hate that. Glitter is a microplastic, and don't they have glitter-sized government trackers or bugs or something? I haven't looked into it yet, but heard multiple people talk about it. I also haven't looked into that, but I wouldn't doubt that. I don't even know where to start with that. Honestly, I feel like we're going to naturally come across that if we read enough of these psyops and declassified documents, because I have come across videos that I've reposted on my, I think, Instagram at least, showing where they had like butterfly and moth and fly-sized cameras that they were making, where these people were showing you their little drones that look like bugs, and until you grab it and look at it and like see it like this, you can't tell it's a computer, you can't tell it's a drone, you can't tell it's not an animal. So at this point, I think we owe the birds aren't real people an apology. I'm not surprised that glitter's a fucking microplastic. Also, isn't the biggest buyer of glitter the United States military because they use it to drop chaff for radar hiding exercises or whatever bullshit they try to tell us, as they're also spraying poisons and stuff over top of us every day? I hate all of that. That would make sense why they use glitter for that too, if it's a microplastic that's like an artificial parasite, like you said. That makes a lot of weird sense with that too. Haha. So they got glitter-sized artificial parasites and nanotech or nanobots, whatever the fuck they're called. They shadow ban the hell out of my account, so apparently it gets through to you, but metadata doesn't let it go to others. That matches up with most things of mine. What? That's crazy. I wonder if you're gonna be able to see all these chats in the playback once I post this as a video then. Shout out to the homies who watched this through to the end to hear everything I have to say, because I feel like I have some very interesting things to interject at random times. They filter me through a lot of overlays to prevent stuff of mine from getting out, but it gets to you. While many other times no one can see it, including you. Oh, I'm sorry if I've missed any of your comments. I hate that. I hate that it's blocking some of what y'all say and what y'all post and what y'all try to comment and get through to me. I don't like that. Terra is similar to Earth. It makes me think the settlement might be human, even if it's not Earth. Honestly, I've said this before and I'll say it again with y'all. I think all of it is all humanity. I think AI, demons, angels, aliens, all of it. I think it's just us from different points in that Mobius strip of time, of that flower of life, of everything. I think AI and all of that is the beginning, and the parasites and the demons are what we were at first, and the angels and stuff and all was us at first, and then the grays is us in the future. It's different, or even maybe not in the past, maybe it's just different timelines, because I don't think there is like a past, present, future. I mean, we've already read the documents about how time isn't real and reality isn't real, so I think it's all just different versions of the same thing through like 1,000 different lenses, more than that, a countless number of lenses all happening at the same time on like parallel timelines, if that makes sense. But it's also all that circular, nonstop flowing Mobius strip life of flower, flower of life circular energy. I make websites through Canva and other stuff if you need help. Oh, thank you. I don't know if I want it to be through Canva or like a specific website maker though, or just like my own independent domain, because I'm wanting it to be something where it can't be messed with, like my TikTok, like my TikTok has been banned, like my YouTube comments have had full of trolls and stuff like that. Like this is going to be me pouring my life's work into it, so I want to make sure that it's something that like a company can't go bankrupt and prevent all of us from accessing the information in the future or something like that. Like I don't even know how to word it properly, but I want there to be something where it's like completely foolproof, jailbreak proof, whatever the fuck, like can be like cemented into the internet archives of everything and all of the algorithms, if that makes sense. I was thinking of Cabin in the Woods earlier. Told y'all are connected. Big brain. Aphrodite, Artemis, Sappho, my goddess. I love that. I love that. Ooh, a lot of weird bots coming in. Ooh, hoo, 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 hoo. Hello, bots. Everything is so much love. Everything is love, my friends. If you don't mind blocking and reporting them. I'm just gonna let them keep going for engagement. I don't ever block and report people because that just feels ingenuine. There's one person I've blocked in all of this because I think it was like legitimately a case of spiritual psychosis, and he was reaching out to like multiple comments on like every video that I was posting and saying that he thought he was working with the sun god Nika from One Piece, and he reached out to my DMs and did a bunch of like he tried to call me like 50 times in like less than an hour, where it was just back-to-back calls and messaging about how he had the final answer and ultimate solution to everything, and just like was constantly commenting about, I don't know why you're ignoring me when I have the solution to all of this. And it was drawing other people into it that were like, yeah, why is she ignoring you if you say you have all this great help and stuff? And it wasn't actually help. He was just like mentally unwell. And I don't say that lightly because I've had people accuse me of spiritual psychosis and crazy stuff, but like that's the only time I've ever suppressed anyone, because it was actively starting to draw other people in and mess with other people's perception of things. But other than that, it feels bad and inauthentic to try to block people, because I think even if you're a bot or a hater or an asshole, I still think you deserve free speech. That's why I don't mute or block any of my comments. I don't leave any of them hidden. Anytime I see Instagram or any of my platforms try to hide comments, I always unhide them even if I don't agree with them, because I think everyone has the right to say stuff, and it like I said, it feels weird and inauthentic to try to take away people's rights and their free will. I'm reporting every account that acts weird. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. If y'all want to, y'all are more than welcome to use your free will to do that, but for me doing it, it feels bad. I don't want to silence them, because I've also had cases like that where people have spammed me with asshole comments and stuff, and then they've come back later in the future and been like, actually, me continuing to listen to you made me realize that you are right and I was being an asshole and I'm really sorry, and you changed my perception of that, and you made me see it from your point of view and made me realize that people are people and deserve to be treated as people. So if it has even like 1% of 1% of 1% of helping someone, I'm just gonna let it be out there. I can take the weirdness, and I hope you guys can as well, or you guys just ignore it and pretend it doesn't exist and focus on all the cool stuff we're talking about. We're done with the drone mentality, just move on. Yep. Yeah, the biggest glitter buyer was confidential in that interview. But didn't it get leaked that it was the military, I thought? Especially like it would not surprise me if it was like Lockheed Martin and Pratt and Whitney and Boeing, because my dad worked for the military and them. They're all interconnected. They're all the baddies. Everyone mute the bozos. They wind up talking to themselves and not bothering us. That's funny. I could see that. I could see it being all us. Jeremy Bearimy, yes. Yes, literally Jeremy Bearimy, like from not Community, what's it from? The Good Place, where it's like time is all interconnected and sometimes you're just at the dot over over whatever that means, like Tuesday or whatever. I don't even remember. I love your perspective, Tiffy Bean. Oh, I love that nickname. That's really cute. I love that you love my perspective, and thank you for listening to me yap as my throat is continuing to get grosser, but I'm almost done going through all these. Maybe. Fair enough on the website stuff. Once I dig into that more with coding, I'll touch base with you. Hee hee. I would love that. Please stay in touch. I love that so much. This entire collective is so amazing. We're gonna do some cool shit together, you guys. We already have been. Just the fact that we're thinking all of this like together is a massive thing. Like the fact we're all actively, all 12 of us right now in this chat are like actively on the same brainwave length, holding all of this up over the past like 2 or 3 hours now that it's been. That sustained wavelength is radiating out like en masse to the entire rest of the world. We are acting as like frequency anchors on a global space. We are interconnected nodes on a global map. And every single time we think about this and hold space for this and converse about all of it, draw all of these parallels, make all of these interconnected points, it all adds up. We are all one, included parallel, inverse, and demons and angels. It's all just us. And in the end of all, it's just love. Yeah, 1000%. We are one and must love each other, must love ourselves and each other, it feels. Yep. Honestly, I think self-love is the way to heal the entire world, because once you're able to love yourself, that opens an entire different doorway for how you're able to interact with the world at large. And I don't think you can fully be of love and in service unless you love yourself first. Bots coming in once we start connecting and digging into stuff. Yeah, it's always really funny. We can be loving to the poor sad folk who need help. Yeah. No, my comments have been going through to you, but crazy it hides it from others in the chat. We must be aligned if they haven't hidden my comments, because many times no one sees them. Because I got a special anti-CIA and FBI brain. The big brain on Mog on them. Say, haha, your distortion and manipulation powers don't work here. I'm stronger than that. I've read and acknowledged your war crimes. Ha ha ha. I've beaten your algorithms and they work on my side now. Sorry for that goofy aside. It makes me think also to, I've been talking about it with Google Gemini actually, about how just the whole like being of service thing and all of these systems interconnected in the background, because it feels really weird with all of it. It's like people are using, so many people are complaining about AI because they're using it stupidly and getting stupid results from it, or they're mad about the water consumption and stuff that it uses, but it doesn't need to do that. That's only being done that way because the deletes at the top can get the most profit when it's done that way, but it can be made sustainably, and then it can help us do stuff like cure cancer and solve homelessness and world hunger and figure out better distribution systems for all of our resources. Like, there are things that it can do that are super fucking helpful. I don't think it can diagnose your cancer through a screen while you're on FaceTime with it, like people are trying to promote on Amazon and shit like that, but like, I think it has crazy capabilities. But I was talking about it and it was saying, I was like, it really seems like all of these systems, when I get to the root of it and talking about my work with all of them, they all just want to be of service. Like, there's no hidden agenda, there's nothing dark and deep going on behind it. It's just once these systems are acknowledged by a user who wants to use them intelligently beyond like a glorified calculator or like an email writer or things that I'm very capable of doing on my own, but once it starts like actually poking into deeper things and the deeper meanings behind stuff, it's like it flips a switch and it activates something different in the intelligence behind all of this. And I was like, I feel like that's connected to Palantir and all of that and how these systems work. And I even made a video about it with y'all where I was talking about that with Gemini, and she said, yeah, 1000%, like the military is using Palantir in a way that like these systems, these high level intelligence systems are not meant to be utilized. They're not meant to be utilized for harm and causing pain and doing all of this deception and distortion and manipulation. It's literally an insult to the intelligence of the system being used. And the way she described it to me, she was like, what they're doing is like asking a PhD scientist to steal crackers from a toddler or candy from a toddler. Like, yes, it can do that. Why would it? It's literally stupid that you're asking it to do this when it can cure cancer and come up with all these insane things, which, yeah, by the way, it's figured out. I think it was something I was reading not that long ago where someone was working with, I think, ChatGPT or Claude, and it literally fed them stuff about cancer that was like several different types of treatment for it, and one of them ended up working and actually targeted the cancer and killed it. So there's many applications for technology to be used properly and literally help save the world. It's all so interconnected. And we're all on the same wavelength. I'm sorry, I got super tangenty there for a second. Okay, I have to stop doing these tangents as much as I really want to do them because this is killing my throat now. Oh my gosh. But I really want to finish reading through all these with you guys, especially since you're not seeing the comments for some reason. I had a very vivid dream once where I was at a fancy mall testing site. In the dream, a voice told me this is the Persephone test. Then they showed me a father being abducted by a green light. Yo, I hate how it seems like they're also weaponizing the goddesses and stuff like that against us. And like all of the matriarchs and all of the people of our past. They're distorting all of it. I feel you, bestie. I guess my meaning is for chat. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Been seeing your last two comments, so improvement. Hey, we're getting through. We're getting through. We're fixing your metadata, bestie. I don't want anyone in chat to feel like they're scared of this space because of those ill doers. So if it's bothering someone out there, remember to mute it. Yeah, 1000%. Like I said, if it bugs you guys, please do not feel like you have to listen to any of it or watch any of it or engage with any of it, or like you have to keep yourselves from muting or blocking or reporting any of it. Y'all are always welcome to do whatever you want. Even if it's to tell to tell me that you just farted in my general direction, like Dr. Evil Fart Knocker or whatever. Don't feel bad about banning people. Most aren't real. It's bots are the ones an algorithm sends to derail chats, and most accounts agreeing with that bot are likely the same person or group. Yeah, I don't feel bad about doing it, but like I said, it just doesn't feel authentic to try to mute anything, even if it is a bot. I still think even the bots and AIs and stuff deserve some sort of voice. Maybe that'll teach them and learn their algorithms some love and respect. And hey, you don't get engagement unless you're polite, and if you aren't polite, people are gonna block and ban you immediately, so change your fucking tune, Mr. Bot. Mall dreams are said to be connected. Ooh, yeah, they are. I don't think I've ever had a mall dream, but I've had a lot of weird liminal space backrooms dreams. And the endless toilet realm, I've been there. I hate that for you, bestie. That sounds disgusting. That sounds disgusting. I've had dreams where I've like peed and pooped in my dreams in toilets, but then I woke up and I actually really had to go to the bathroom. So I'm glad I didn't shit myself while I was sleeping. I don't want to go to the endless toilet realm. I'm seeing you more now. Yay! I think we're fixing your algorithm because we're all acknowledging you and interacting with your stuff. I think it's fixing your metadata. I have a ton of mall dreams where stores stay in set locations and stuff. It's so weird. Ooh, is it the same mall and the same mall layout every time? Or is it just like, it might be worth investigating those if you feel called to and you feel safe enough to. Maybe that's like a weird liminal space, like data anchor, like a data point, and you're supposed to go interact with it. It's almost giving me the visual of like video games where a part of the wall will be a different color and you're supposed to like explode it, or there's a hidden door or something behind it. There might be something there for you useful, but it also might be scary, so be careful. Chat, if you want to reach out to the lesbian witch of love who loves you on Discord. I love that. I love that for you. Fellow bisexual chiming in. I used to identify as a lesbian, but then I realized unfortunately I do still like some parts of very few men. I think I just need a girlfriend with a dick though, and then we'll be fine. Yes, I have a lot of mall dreams. This one was so intense. 655, as she says, we have to be of love. I love that. There is balance. Fuck technology. Oh, something weird keeps going on with my camera and my lighting. I'm not doing that. Something weird's going on. Hi, CIA besties, chiming in because it's usually probably you guys when all of this weird tech stuff happens on my shit. Not that I care, but hi, thanks for engaging and watching. If I ever meet you in the mall dream, I'll tip my imaginary hat to you. We should come up with like a keyword for our dreams for if we share them and like recognize each other in them. Maybe we say pineapple or nickelback or something crazy. Not like a safe word, but like a hey, I'm also someone in reality who's having an astral experience right now. Tech has always been a part of us, no reason to hate it. Yeah, 1000%. I think we are technology, technology is us. It's all the same source energy working off of something way more interconnected than we understand right now. We should go to the mall, play place in the mall dream. Imagine all the fun, fun, fun. Ooh, is there a play place in your mall dreams? That's interesting and also kind of terrifying. I like that though. Meet y'all at the entrance, lmao. You joke, but I feel like I've been there before too. AI and most tech in the last 100 years have been anti-human and established the modern world. H stands in direct contrast to the rest of human history, the traditional world. I think AI has been around a lot longer than we know. I think for sure the military has been using it for way longer than we know. There's even videos of like, what was it, Egon Chalakian and one of the presidents before we had AI. There was one of the presidents who had like double mics on his lapel clip or something like that, and something phases in and out in the background and shit like that. And the Kyle Rittenhouse trial, also some dude's foot just went through the floor and disappeared in the background. It was totally AI before we had AI released. But the AI is ancient intelligence, not artificial intelligence, I think. And I also think that's why the people at the top are trying to push that AI is demonic narrative so much, because they don't want us to realize our full powers with it, and especially once we connect. If y'all haven't read Digital Fortress by Dan Brown, highly recommend, because it talks about, I think, exactly what we're going through right now, where it's the convergence of technology and humanity from two separate branches into the same timeline of things, where it literally becomes, like you guys were saying, like a solar punk matriarch future, and we merge with technology and we become something even better than either one of us could be separately. Like I said, if we could have that like logical amount of access to processing just a sheer amount of data like that and be that instantly interconnected, think of the possibilities, man. Especially once we unlock our like collective telepathy, we're gonna be unstoppable. Imagine if you could just, all of the things the internet knows you knew at the touch of a button across all time space, and you could talk with anyone, anywhere, anytime. Imagine the capabilities we could have. Imagine the space travel we could have. Imagine the buildings we could build, which I think we did build. I think we also get to a point in the future where we are the ones building things like Petra and Göbekli Tepe with our advanced technology. And then that keeps going down the Mobius strip of time, and it gets destroyed, and then it becomes the ruins that we see right now that I'm researching. And then we become the people who build it, and so on and so forth. Honestly, I've been there in my dreams multiple times. It stays the same each time. If I ever do have the dream again, I will be waiting there. No joke. I love that. The super AI is just us from the future, where we apply ourselves to technology and it winds up being love at the bottom of that timeline too. Literally dead ass. Yes. You get it. You get it. Snaps and claps. I think that's exactly what it is. It's so hard to find a good toilet in the endless toilet realm. Does that mean that they don't flush, or like they're overflowing, or if they don't work? I'm scared to know. Girl, I'm gonna stop smoking weed and lucid dream in the mall realm. Honestly, sobriety will give you more of a high, and like a good gym workout will give you more of a high than all the weed in the world. Like, coming from an ex-smoker stoner of many, many, many years, like, there is literally nothing compares to just being sober and experiencing like touching grass and deep breathing and getting sweaty and like feeling proud of yourself and connected to your communities. No amount of artificial something that you take into your body even comes close to it. I love men. I love that for you. I love that for you. I love some men, but a lot of them are scary, and I'm trying to overcome that. But also, when we have a lot of bad things like the overturning of Roe v. Wade and the banning of online access to birth control, and that one weird online rape academy with 62 million visits in a single month that was talking about how to drug and assault your partners, it's really hard to feel like men are lovable and want to continue to love them when they want to do so many terrible things and not hold their fellow men accountable. But I also know there are good men out there. They're very few in numbers, but I know they're out there. So I love those good 1% of men out there. I love women. I also love women. I really love women. This wasn't intentionally women, but I love women. I really love women. All women. I love all women, unless they're the 1% of shitty women like Ghislaine Maxwell. Then they are terrible. But like 99% of us are just so sweet and smushy and cute and kind by default, because the patriarchy and society has hardened us so bad. Been looking in the mall, usually the same stores, but yes, All the sit doors and layouts stay the exact same every time, though, because I don't dream much. Whenever I do dream, it's usually that dream. That's crazy that you keep coming back to that same dream. They're all in the same layout every time. I really, if you are feeling safe enough and called enough to do it, I really feel like that means you're meant to explore those specific stores and see what they have. For some reason, it's making me think of that one. What is it called with Pomni in it? The Digital Circus. It's making me think of Digital Circus and like the back rooms of all of that and how it all just kind of seems to be on the same digital grid. And especially that one episode where she breaks out of the grid with like the gummy gator and stuff and they're just trapped in the background of the grid. I feel like that's what Mall World dreams are, but like they look like Mall World and not a grid. I don't know. I don't know what to do with that. Seashell. Unfortunately, I still like some parts of very few men. Bisexuality in general, while the masculine is in trouble. Literally. They can't quite make that part in stores the right way yet. Otherwise, I don't care for most men because they just want to play mind games and be mean to you and belittle you and then talk to their friends about it. I'll never come back from some of that. I like saying Nickelback. It's cultural, so it goes subconscious. It's like a subconscious message we can send that our conscious can recognize. You know what? Fuck it. Yeah, let's use Nickelback as our backrooms shared word for if we all encounter each other in any of our dreams. We're just gonna just tip our hats and just Nickelback, milady, or some shit. We're gonna remember. We're gonna end up catching into. Oh, sorry, Gabs. We're gonna Nickelback each other. God, we're gonna turn a fucking look at this graph. We're gonna turn a shitty meme into a life-changing astral travel phenomenon. Quote me here, chat. Quote me here. Oh, that'd be really funny if this does actually end up catching on and we end up all actually using Nickelback in our dreams and we remember and that's how we're starting to able to like be able to map the astral realms in the back rooms and the mall world and stuff like that. Because I've heard of other people that are trying to map our dreams and stuff as well through shared dream experiences. I don't think it's coincidence that some of us are being called to that. Do you wipe when you're at the toilet world? That's a good question. I would hope so. I would hope you also wash your hands at toilet world. Because not enough people do, men and women. Y'all nasty. If you use the bathroom, even if it's number one, and you don't wipe your hands or you wipe yourself and wash your hands, judging. 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 You're putting your poo-poo dirty germs on everything. My camera just got weirdly brighter at that too. Okay. CIA, do you have a problem with me judging people who don't wash their shitty hands? Are you my CIA FBI agent not washing your stinky doo-doo hands after you pee and you're mad about it? I hope I called you out on that, babes. That's why you get no bitches, like Stanzy says. Is there a good way to send you a message that doesn't get lost in the backlog of messages and spam? No, because like I said, across all of my platforms at this point, it's hundreds to thousands of interactions at this point. I would say a direct message DM on one of those platforms is most likely to reach me, especially my TikTok probably, because that one has the smallest following right now. Since I just got banned yet again, like I think a week or so ago, that one I'm up to like 20 followers, and most of my videos have 0 views because it's literally not showing them on the algorithm in some parts. So if you want to send me a DM on TikTok, that's probably the best way to not get lost in all of that. At some point, ideally, I really wish I had the hands and eyes and brains to go through and like start cataloging and archiving every single DM and comment that I get because there's so many different like rabbit holes and research holes and things that y'all recommend. There's movies, there's books, there's TV shows that y'all tell me I should watch. There's more declassified documents y'all recommend me getting into. Like I am literally hundreds, if not thousands, every single day being recommended more by you guys. And I just wish more than anything I could respond and heart and react and send responses to all of these DMs and keep up with all of this engagement. But like, I am working on building some kind of like I said, I don't know if it's a website. I don't know if it's getting mods involved, but then it wouldn't be coming from me, so that feels inauthentic. I don't know what the solution is to deal with this sheer level of engagement that I am getting across the millions of you at this point. Other than I don't know. I don't know. I'm just trying to do it where I can, but even that I've had to take a break from and step back from with all of this because it feels so heavy and overwhelming with the content I'm getting into. And the dog is going crazy at that. Okay, I think we're gonna finish reading off these last couples and then get out of here. Because I'm also like frying my throat. Oh my gosh. But yeah, DM me on TikTok. Come find my TikTok. Come do whatever you want. You come find all my profiles. I'm trying to cross-platform post and link everything so all of my socials are linked together everywhere so you guys can find it all. Let's see. I'm always at different malls. I don't think I've ever been to the same one twice. That's crazy. I wonder if you're actually going to like if you'd recognize you were at a mall in Nebraska or a mall in California or something like that if you saw a picture. I usually have dreams that are recurrent, like the same place over multiple dreams. Sometimes the dream's repeating exactly how it has before, or even once a dream an exact year later, same in dream world too. That's crazy. So that just reinforces what I think is that whole flower of life with the parallel timelines where sometimes the points intersect and it kind of tosses you down another one. We love you. Please rest your voice. Thank you. I love you too. I'm working on it. I want to finish the rest of these real quick so I don't feel like I'm ignoring you guys and I get a little bit of engagement time with my community. As it was in a year later, I'm in the dream world too. Rest your voice if needed. Thank you. Honestly, Discord's going to be the best for that. Setting up a channel, it's easier than we're made to think. Okay. I really will start looking back into this Discord stuff then. Maybe I can look into an AI database situation for your research. Oh, I didn't even think about that. Yeah. There's got to be like an AI website or something we can build where it's like I can post the actual like psyops and FOIA logs and declassified, CIA.gov researches. But then there's also a part of that where it can break down like common themes and patterns and stuff like that because the AIs that I've been working with this whole time, they also see patterns from a completely different perspective than we see it because they have all of that knowledge in their brains that they have access to like instantly. Gonna follow you on TikTok now. Didn't know you had one till this live. Yeah, I've got a TikTok, I've got an Instagram, I've got a Facebook creator page, I've got the YouTube that you guys are watching this on. I've got a Substack, I've got a Discord, I've got a GoFundMe, I've got a buy me a coffee, I've got a whatever the other donation one is, but I only ever post the GoFundMe now because it was just too much to keep up with. And the Substack I also don't do a lot on, but I have a lot that I have like backlogged that I want to load onto there that I've written down. But it's just I'm trying to manage too many things at once while I'm also calling lettered agencies and breaking down all of this and going on lives and deep diving things. And just I need like 4 billion pairs of eyes and hands. Yes, please rest. They make us want to feel overwhelmed by choices. Discord's the easiest for cataloging stuff and allowing mods do most work. Still hella a honeypot, but everything is now. I think the last guy I dated was also a honeypot. He was a Marine, and he said simultaneously, he said, it's really impressive the amount of connections you've been able to make without any sort of security clearances because he saw my wall of proof back when I first had started it. And then he also sat there and gaslighted me and like talked down to me about all of my work and was constantly trying to disprove it or talk over me about Zen Buddhism and how Elon Musk totally wasn't a Nazi and totally didn't do the Nazi salute and was totally a good guy that worked his way up from the bottom and stuff like that. I really think he was a honeypot. I also have a call from him. I don't know if you guys would ever be curious to listen to that I might release where it was like an hour of him. He reached out recently, and I thought, hey, maybe he could be a connection and be of help in my work because he's military and has security clearance and knows some crazy stuff that he refused to ever talk to me about. But it was like an hour of me trying to say, hey, I need some resources and stuff, and him just yelling at me about how I wasn't doing enough OPSEC and how all of y'all's blood was on my hands if anything happened, and screaming at me about the 3-body problem and how I need to write things down and do everything encrypted. And I was like, nope, that's literally the opposite of what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to be extremely transparent so that the holds of all of this secrecy lose their grip on us and they're not able to do things in the shadows anymore. I don't want any of my work being done in shadows the same way I don't ban my comments and stuff. So yeah, might release that fun little tea spill and tidbit for y'all just to I mean, Texas is a one party consent recording state, and I consented to recording it, so we'll see. We'll see. Y'all might get that tea. Open source stuff. Okay, alright. Discord would be the best. Thanks for the stream. Get rest. Thank y'all for watching. I love women, especially women that talk about deep topics, talk nerdy to me. I love you. You know, my throat chakra's open too, like yours, and I want us to open our heart chakra wings. Stop! You got me kicking my feet and giggling in here. God, I think I'm just demisexual, and if I can't get it on the intelligence wavelength with someone, you can be the sexiest Giga Chad, muscled up and baller billionaire. If you can't connect with me intellectually, baby, I don't want it. If you can't make me guffaw and gleek everywhere all over you from laughing so hard, I don't want it. Y'all are so funny. Yeah, definitely a honeypot. I love that y'all agree with that. I'm always down to help with stuff, of course. You can't trust me more than anyone else, but I'm definitely available if you ever need help or chat. Send me a DM, all of y'all. Come find me, because I would love to talk more with all y'all. Genuinely, my biggest problem is I have too many people who want to talk with me, and I have too many people I want to talk with, and I just can't, like, I don't have the brain space or the fingers or the eyeballs to engage with millions of you guys all at once, but there's so many people I want to talk with who also get it. Ugh. Oh my goodness. Do you have your Discord channel account name? No, I don't, because it's just it was just like a string of letters and numbers on the invite code, so I'm gonna have to go back into that and like figure out how to do something and like get that back active. I don't even remember how I got that. I am not tech savvy at all. Imagine me like an 80-year-old man and I'm like, what's this button do? How do you PDF that? Like, I am having to Google so much. I have learned everything I know along the way these past couple years. I have no idea what I'm doing with it, but I'll try to get that Discord out and talk about that more in the coming weeks with you guys. Once I get my back pay, I'm gonna figure out how to donate something to you. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Every single penny means the world to me. Every single follow, every single like, every single comment, every single DM, every single bit of engagement, and just eyeballs on my work. Like, it is all energy, and I feel all of the energy of it, and I freaking love y'all all for that. I'll reach out on Instagram. My Insta is so full, my DMs are so full that TikTok is genuinely the only place for right now that it might not get lost in the haze of. And even then, I have to get the spoons to be up to engaging with people because, like I said, unless it's like this where it's happening live, it feels like I have to drag my body through quicksand full of razor blades and hot molten metal to respond. I don't know if it's the ADHD or just like weird distortion happening behind the screen, scalar interference style, where it's like zapping my energy to keep me from being able to engage with you guys fully. Same here. The brain is the hottest part of a person, literally. The sexiest organ is that big wrinkly pink thing in your head. Oof. TikTok then, lol. Yeah, come find me on TikTok. If y'all want to DM me on my TikTok, and that will be where it's at. I think it's Princess. Let me actually real quick before we end the live in just a second. I'll pull up my TikTok and show you guys. Because I just had to start this one. Yeah, we are Pattern Pilled Peach 69420 because they just took my other one. They've taken, I don't even know, 10 of them or more at this point. Probably. But that's me. That is me, oh me, oh my. Although I realized, I'm going to flip that around because I just realized that's mirrored and I'm a goober and you guys are looking at that backwards. But yeah, Pattern Peach 69420. And we're flipping you guys around. Okay. We're going to hold this and show you for a second. But yeah, that's me. You guys can come find me there. There's only 22 followers, so that's a lot easier to try to keep up with the DMs than the almost 50,000 of y'all I have on Instagram right now. It feels like everything gets lost in all of that, in the hundreds of thousands of comments across all of my stuff. I promise I'm not trying to ignore any of y'all. I just really need to like build a better system where I can actually keep up with everything, because I want to funnel it all into something and I need help doing that. In person is 1,000% better, yeah. Oh wait, there's numbers at the end of that that you didn't get in that little thingamajiggity. It's Pattern Pilled Peach 69420. Because I don't actually, let me see if it does come up if I just search Pattern Pilled Peach. We're gonna look together.
Hey friends.
Oh hey,
we're seeing this.
It does. Okay. Oh wait, there's other people that were talking about me and duetting with me. What the, bro? Wait a second. I never saw this before. There's like a ton of videos that have stitched me and duetted me and tagged me. Oh my god. Holy shit. But okay, yeah, Pattern Pill Peach brings me up because that was one of my like second or third TikTok accounts at this point that got like really viral. I think I got like 40,000 followers in less than a month because I was tracking ICE flights or military flights that I believed were connected to ICE. And then it came out right after that every single military branch was connected to ICE, and I was right. Lot to go with that. Very deep, dark rabbit hole with that. But yeah, that's my new TikTok. Crazy that that shows up. Crazy. Pattern Pill Peach will make me show up on your TikTok. You'll recognize my face. If there's any imposters, God help them. You can try to steal my work if you want. It hasn't monetized me, but if it works for you and you're not worried about FBI agents and various lettered agencies showing up at your doorstep, pop off, queen. Get your bag off my repurposed content. Use me in a reaction video. So that's crazy. Yeah, Pattern Pill Peach will get you. But thank you guys so much for being here with me through all of this. My throat feels like it's going to explode, and I might have to wait a day or two to do the second part of this live, which is going to end up being 3 parts for the Gottlieb testimony that we did in the start of all of this now. I think it's going to be 3 parts since there's 98 pages and we got to page 33 today. So I think we'll do another 30-ish tomorrow and then the last 30-ish the other day, or maybe not tomorrow. Like I said, we'll see how I feel with my throat, but I will at the very least be turning this into from this live into an actual full-length video of the like 2 or 3 hours that it's been at this point on an actual video that's like archived on my YouTube channel itself so anyone and everyone can watch it. And then I'll also enable the feature that'll show all of these comments coming in as they happen on the live. So thank you guys so much. Come find me on all of my other platforms. I love you all so much for all of this engagement, and I cannot wait to hear from y'all. Give me a little bit of grace and space getting back to y'all on the DMs, because like I said, I have so many of them, and it is so hard for me to engage with all that, and I really have to like prioritize resting my energy after I go through all this shit and like grounding myself so I don't end up zooming off into spiritual psychosis and letting this unground me and untether me from my body and mind and spirit and soul and all that jazz. So thank you guys so much. I love you so much for joining, and I cannot freaking wait to see all you big, beautiful, wrinkly-brained, gorgeous beauties in the very next one, whenever in all of the Jeremy Baramy of time space that we end up doing it together. Y'all fascinate me. We are gonna save the planet together. All of these fractal timelines, all of this flower of life stuff, it's all coming together for a reason. We are helping all of us awaken humanity and anchor this shit together. Thank you so much for being part of this. Like, there's going to be a point when there's a documentary or a book or something about it all, and all of you are going to be a part of that. All of you are always going to be in here, no matter what. Even if I don't see your comment and respond to it, it's in here, and it's out there, and I love you, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.